so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The purpose of today's meeting is in part to explain, discuss, and debate various warrant articles, but ultimately the purpose is to determine the form of the article that will appear on the ballot on March 12th. There's 12 articles this year to be voted on. Article 1 is regarding school district elections. We do have a couple of contested races. For the Ossipee position, we have incumbent Catherine Frothingham is running again, and she's being challenged by Dana Streeter. Is Dana Streeter here? Yes, she is. Raise your hand. And then for the at-large position, we have 3 people running for that. We have Krista A. Bear. You here, Krista? Richard Parent is also running for that position. Raise your hand if you're here. And then Richard Surratt is also running for that. So there's 3 people running for one position there. So we won't be discussing that today, but you will get to vote for those candidates in March. The other 11 articles we'll discuss, you'll find them at the back of the annual report. That's that yellow pamphlet that you all hopefully picked up when you came in. If you didn't, there's plenty more out back. And on pages 43 to 45, the very, very back, you'll see the 11 articles articulated right there. Article 10, which is the main budget, you'll find on pages 40 to 42. Now, anyone that desires to amend a particular article or make a substantive motion, I would request you reduce it to writing and deliver it to either myself, Linda, or Michelle, so that we can ensure that it's accurately presented to you, the voters, today. I always prefer if you keep it straightforward and simple, so it's easy for me to follow, but more importantly, it's easy for the other voters to follow. I do not permit amendments to amendments on the floor at any one time. If an amendment is proposed, we'll discuss it, vote it either up or down, and then move on to another amendment. We also operate under SB 2, and there's a few procedural twists regarding amendments under SB 2. The first is you cannot kill or table a particular article by passing over it. Number 2, the default budget, which you'll find in Article 10, is not amendable because that amount is set by law. And then 3, any articles whose language is specifically prescribed by law, that cannot be amended either. No warrant article can be amended to eliminate the subject matter of the particular warrant article. You can change the dollar amount, you can change the intent, you can change the impact, but you cannot delete the subject matter. Let me also establish a few other procedural rules, which are the same rules that we've had in the past and work well for us. The first is that I do not follow any particular parliamentary set of rules. Number 2, I generally recognize the submitter of a particular article. Articles 2 through 10 were submitted by the school board. I'll recognize a school board member to speak first to that. We have 2 petition warrant articles this year, and I'll recognize one of the petitioners to speak first to that article before those articles are opened up for general discussion. If there's any amendments to those articles, then the amended version will appear in March. And if it's not amended, then what you see in front of you in the annual report will be what will be presented. For those of you that do want to speak, if you would go to this microphone right here in the center of the room, that would be great, and introduce yourselves, indicate what town you're from, and then speak to the article. This should be a fairly short meeting. We don't vote on anything substantively today. You'll have plenty of time to do that in March during regular polling hours. I will also read each and every article before we discuss it. For those of you that are watching on the television or listening by radio, after an article is read, it does not need to be moved or seconded. We'll go right into the discussion. If for any reason there's any votes that we take today, a simple majority is all that's required for it to either pass or fail. And after a reasonable period of time has elapsed regarding the discussion of a particular article, I would entertain a motion to terminate debate or call the question, which I treat as synonymous. Then we can move along to other matters. I generally will waver on the side of letting people speak rather than precipitously cutting off debate. We only do this once a year. We're all kind enough to come out on a brisk, cold winter day, and if you'd like to speak, we'd love to hear from you. For those of you that have cell phones, this would be a great time to take them out. Make sure that they're off so that they do not go off during the meeting. And then finally, you're all aware that motions can be made before a motion to adjourn. And I encourage all of you to stay until there's a motion to adjourn. But if you have to leave, and you'd like to ensure that we do not reconsider any particular article that we've already discussed, you can move to restrict reconsideration of a particular article or motion. And if that should pass, then we will not discuss that motion or article today. And then finally, we'll only discuss the subject matter of those things that appear in the warrant. There's no notice of particular matter. It would be unfair to bring it up today when others might have come if they know that it was going to be discussed. Those are the same rules that we've had in the past and that we'll use today. And then finally, elections are going to be on March 12th. The voting will be on March 12th, Tuesday, at your respective town halls or voting places. You'll find the place and time on page 43 of the annual report for your respective towns if you'd like to look there. And then lastly, it's been a tradition since 1988 that the chairman of the school board deliver a state of the school report, and therefore recognize Chair Jack Whitman to make that presentation. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Well, good morning. I'm Jack Whitmer, Chair of the Governor Wentworth Regional School Board. It's great to see you all here today. Thank you for taking the time to come out to listen to the important deliberative session this morning. I want to especially thank Katie Small and the students of Route 28. Each year we look forward to starting our day with Route 28 singing our national anthem. So thank you very much for Route 28. They did a tremendous job. As the morning goes on, we will review the state of our schools, the rationale for each article of the warrant, and the district's proposed budget for fiscal year 2020. At this time, I'd like to begin with the state of the schools. I am always amazed at how quickly the time passes us by from year to year. Can you believe that this beautiful arts center, where we sit this morning, officially opened 8 years ago? I know I speak for my fellow board members when I say how proud we are of the state-of-the-art facilities we have, programs and resources we are able to offer to our students. This district truly strives to provide something that appeals to each student. In addition to our strong and varied academic offerings, students can find their place to shine in music, theater, community service, technology, trades, clubs, and sports, just to name a few. We can offer these options for our students only because of your unwavering support for our future generations. I continue to be so proud of what we've done as a community and to be part of a school board that makes decisions that are right and best for our students. We have a tremendously dedicated group of educators, administrators, and support staff who work so hard to ensure that the educational experience for all of our students is the very best it can be. I am looking forward to highlighting some of those experiences as I continue this morning. Our high school students are fortunate in so many ways. They continue to benefit in significant ways from the building renovation several years ago, which has afforded many changes in program offerings for students. Each year, staff looks for new ways to enrich these offerings and meet the needs of each student in all areas. There is nothing like seeing our students excel at their pursuits and to know that it is truly a reflection of your support, our taxpayers. I am also very happy to share that the NHIAA recently named 23 senior scholar athletes from Kingswood. We are very proud of these athletes who will be recognized by the state of New Hampshire next month. To be recognized, a student must have a B+ average, have lettered in 2 sports during their senior year, and be a positive role model in their community. In addition to the great number of athletic offerings for students, Kingswood is now in their 4th season with the unified basketball team. The team continues to play in front of a packed gymnasium. Kingswood's sportsmanship is at the foundation of all of our athletic programs, and this is really important to us. Over the past few years, there has been real momentum behind science, technology, engineering, and math instruction. We refer to this as STEM, and there continues to be a vital energy throughout the district around it. In addition to offerings like coding, our robotics programs are truly thriving. 2 years ago, the middle and high school also launched the iSchool initiative, where students are trained to research together with staff to identify an area of technology where thinking outside the box brings solutions through the collaborative process. At the high school, the group meets every Friday. They have undertaken some interesting challenges, such as growing a prolific worm farm to aid in recycling food. The students also created a digital citizenship video showing the ways in which personal devices are an important part of their educational life. Recently, the members of the team began working as undercover advocates promoting digital tools. They explore and learn new apps and extensions so that in their classrooms they become the innovators with new ideas and are able to share how to use them. In preparation for the New England Association of Schools and Colleges decennial visit, students are also actively working on StoryCorps video clips to highlight ways in which Kingswood core values are part of each student's life. The students have become quiet advocates with the goal of integrating the ethical use of technology into student life at Kingswood Regional High School. As always, the school music department kept very busy through this past fall and winter. They started off the fall with a fundraiser called Kingswood Presents to raise money for Kingswood Nights Against Hunger. This was an open mic event featuring many talented performers and songwriters. The event also featured Kingswood's own jazz band and chorus concert. November was extremely busy. The music department presented a fantastic production of The Wizard of Oz. Also, 6 high school students participated in the All New England Choral Festival at Plymouth State University, along with 2 students who participated in the All New England Band Festival. These 2 festivals are always great experiences for our students where participants from 40 high schools all across New England participate and perform in concerts together. November wrapped up with the all-state auditions, where freshmen Kylie Bono and sophomore Jenna Hansen were accepted. Jenna scored so well that she was also accepted in the New Hampshire Music Educator Association's Chamber Festival last month. Congratulations to all of our musicians. The Kingswood Music Department was also thrilled to host the 30th Annual Lakes Region Music Festival at the Kingswood Arts Center on January 13th. Over 230 students from 12 area high schools came together for an intensive and gratifying day. This festival is hosted each year throughout the region and is a great experience for all Lakes Region students. I know Mr. Burns is also proud of how well our students represented our community, and they enjoyed being able to host this year. Kingswood faculty and administrators continue to be very proud of the compassion and generosity shown by our students throughout the year, with many community service projects to meet the needs of those not just locally, but across the country. Last year, you may recall that our high school students started off the year raising money for hurricane relief for Houston after Hurricane Harvey. This year, they assisted in disaster relief for Hurricane Michael, which affected Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. They were able to raise a significant amount of money to contribute to the Red Cross efforts. In the spirit of giving, Kingswood Tackles Hunger again held a food drive in late September, collecting non-perishable food items and cash donations for the Life Ministry Food Pantry. This has become an annual tradition of caring and sharing that supports those in need across our communities. This past year, students also ran the annual Thanksgiving Basket Food Drive, delivering over 30 Thanksgiving baskets to local families. It was another great year for the Wish Upon a Star project, which distributes Christmas gifts to those who are experiencing financial difficulties during the holidays. Student Council displays stars for students to take, granting many special wishes again this year. And the Knights Against Hunger continues to grow. This is a student-run club whose mission is to help alleviate school hunger, childhood hunger, by providing weekend meals and snacks to Kingswood Regional Middle School and high school students in need. This is done in cooperation with guidance counselors to maintain confidentiality for the receiving students. These are just a few of the examples of the community service that our students devote so much time and energy to. It has really become a part of the culture. These projects, along with so many others that happen each year, demonstrate the strong commitment our students have to giving back to their communities. The Lakes Region Technology Center continues to be a tremendous asset for our students and for those from the surrounding districts of Wolfeboro, Prospect Mountain, and Farmington. Whereas we are small in comparison to other centers across the state, but we offer one of the highest numbers of programs. We are particularly pleased that more and more students at LRTC are earning dual credit through Laconia Community College. The option of attending college while in high school, referred to as the 2+2+2 model, sets our students up for great success as they move toward post-secondary schools. We are thrilled LRTC now offers 10 Running Start programs under this initiative. This is a great advantage for so many. I know I speak for the board when I say how proud we are of the accomplishments of our students at the Tech Center and of the high-quality teaching and learning in each of our programs. A few highlights from the past year include the Hospitality Education Program running My Career, My Future lecture series for the second year in a row to introduce students to professionals in varied industries. The Precision Manufacturing Program had 5 students attend the National Skills Competition in June, where first place was taken by our students in welding fabrication, sculpture, and job interview categories. Some additional achievements to note this past year include students placing first at the state and national level in FBLA graphic design, marketing education, health science, technology, and agricultural science, receiving the Gold Seal Chapter Award again this year. And 12 of our students placed first at events or through their work in their respective programs. And again, these include marketing education, graphic design, health, and science technology. The construction trade students completed the OSHA 10 industry certification, addressing job safety and health hazards in the construction industry. This is an industry where demand for workers exceeds the supply, and it is great to see this program continue, to increase in enrollment. The center is deeply grateful to our community partners who mentor our students and provide them with great experiences and internships, as this is so critical to their learning. The real-world application of the skills, knowledge, and work habits is evident throughout every one of the programs offered at LRTC, and this is something we should be especially proud of. Kingswood Regional Middle School is a place where students from all our communities come to learn together for the first time, including Middleton students who have been with us now for 4 years. These 2 impactful years before high school are intended to not only offer rigorous academics to support their growth during their adolescent years, but to strengthen work habits such as collaboration, perseverance, and resilience. Through team building, advisory activities, enriching field trips, and strong core and exploratory curricula, our students are afforded varied opportunities to grow and shine during these middle school years. As the bridge from elementary to high school, middle school plays a truly critical role in the lives of adolescents. A continuous focus on teaching and learning at the middle school level, including social emotional learning, will continue to yield great opportunities for our 7th and 8th grade students. Part of that focus stems from the middle school staff engaging in a self-study through the New England League of Middle Schools, which has provided a comprehensive framework for growth. Through reflective practices and an understanding of the unique needs of the middle level learner, Kingswood Regional Middle School staff and administration can see the importance of their work, embracing how pivotal their role is in the lives of our students. The success of our students at the middle school and high school are built upon a strong foundation across all of our elementary schools, in addition to our sister school, Middleton Elementary School. As you know, Governor Wentworth continues to provide SAU services to the Middleton School District, and this is a great partnership in many ways. Governor Wentworth and Middleton faculty and administration work closely together to ensure commonality across our elementary schools. This allows students a high-quality education in preparation for joining together as one educational community in middle and high school. Beyond the well-articulated curriculum, our elementary schools provide many varied experiences, both academic and co-curricular, that I know the students get so much out of. The addition of a strong robotics program and Camp Invention has made such a difference for our students in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. I have to tell you that the highlights of each board meeting is when students share what they are learning and doing, which is often centered around 4 areas. And if you've ever been to any of the school board meetings when the school board has to actually participate in a few of these activities, it's quite a lot of fun, and it's really a rewarding experience to see these young students show us what they're doing in their classrooms. With several retirements of our elementary administrators last June, this year we welcomed new principals at Carpenter School, Ossipee Central School, and the Tuftonboro Central School. We are very proud of how seamless the transition was, in great part due to the collaboration between our retiring administrators and our new principals. It speaks volumes about the culture that exists within our administrative team, and as a board member, I find it remarkable. Let me share a few highlights from our elementary schools for you now. Carpenter School has taken part in some really great learning activities throughout this past year, beginning with the very first day of school when they were welcomed back with sidewalk chalk notes written by the staff for them. What a great first impression that carries over into the building and into each classroom. Carpenter is a warm and welcoming place for our Brookfield and Wolfeboro students to begin their K-3 learning journey. Some notable activities activities highlighted in the pictures you see here include kindergartners becoming scientists and a student enjoying a technology-rich learning center. Thanksgiving always includes the tradition of the third grade students helping to serve Thanksgiving dinner and in practicing kindness and thankfulness. Carpenter students annually come together each December to deliver donations to the local food pantry. And what would New England be without some opportunity to enjoy the great outdoors? Carpenter students take full advantage of it, be it recess or winter activities. Whether students are at morning meetings or engaging in a math activity, the culture of learning and engagement shines through at Carpenter. At Crescent Lake School, grade 4, 5, and 6 graders had some really exciting opportunities. Last May, the 5th grade students went to the ecology school. This is a great learning experience for them, investigating tide pools, the ocean, and spending time as a group learning about the many ecosystems in the world around us. The unicycle team continues to participate in the Wolfeboro Christmas Parade, supported by Mrs. Skelly and Mrs. Goodwin this year. And speaking of Mrs. Goodwin, she begins practices for the school drama production each year in October. This year, the production was Flat Stanley, which was performed close to our spring concert. Crescent Lake continues to have a significant number of students who participate in chorus and drama, which is just great. The Crescent Lake Student Council visited the nursing home in Ossipee to hand deliver over 100 holiday cards to the residents. They also sang some Christmas songs, which I know brought a lot of cheer to those at the home. Winter sports is a program that all of our elementary school students look forward to across the district. At Crescent Lake, students can choose skiing, snowboarding, ice skating, or snowshoeing. This is a great tradition and enjoyed by staff and students alike. One last highlight to share from Crescent Lake is about their coding team, the CLS Roboters. They competed this fall at UNH, and although they did not move on to the next level of competition, they won the Core Value Award. To be awarded that, they had to demonstrate the most gracious professionalism and encouragement of team members, as well as overall perseverance. As a board member, this means a lot to me to know how positively our students are representing their school and the district. There are many fun highlights from Effingham Elementary this past year, including the Gingerbread Hunt. This was a first grade STEAM unit. That's STEAM, science, engineering, art, and math. That culminates in a chase of the gingerbread around the town of Effingham. This incorporates so many valued skills and was a big hit. Second grade also participated in a STEAM science unit, which draws a lot of engaging learners to the table to allow for exploration and experimentation. Fourth graders were fortunate to participate in a habitat unit of study with the New Hampshire Fish and Game, which included the opportunity to practice letter writing and question and answer sessions. National Honor Society students from Kingswood Regional High School visit and work with students on various literacy activities. This is a really great example of how collaborative and creative we can be as a district, despite how large we are geographically. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Halloween parade and the Thanksgiving theater, a Title I community event where everyone helps out, even serving pie. Both of these events celebrate the tight-knit community and tradition of school-wide engagement. That's a lot to celebrate. Camp Invention continues to be a much-anticipated week at New Durham, as it is across all of our elementary schools. They will be heading into their 4th summer this year. This summer, they had the honor of welcoming Mike Oyster, the CEO of the National Inventors Hall of Fame, along with local inventor Eric Fossum. Each week, the New Durham School, at New Durham School, a Friday celebration is held. This is where each classroom honors a student who demonstrates the spirit of the school motto, the Wildcat Way, which means to be safe, work hard, play fair, and be kind. New Durham School benefits from community partnerships, and a wonderful partnership this year was with artist and potter Teresa Taylor, who guided students in the tile project over the main entrance that you see in the bottom left corner of the slide. This residency was made possible by the support of the Governor Wentworth Arts Council, as well as New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. New Durham School continues with their focus on the whole child, implementing practices of mindfulness in both teaching and learning. Wellness for all is particularly important as part of this focus. Students in grades 3 through 6 had the opportunity to take part in an after-school yoga club thanks to the generous donation of the Alton Barnstead New Durham Rotary Club. Once again, the annual Thanksgiving dinner drew many community members, police, fire, town hall and library employees, school board members, volunteers from the food pantry, and ending 68 hours of hunger. They were all invited to join in this day of gratitude with students and staff. And a bittersweet celebration took place on December 5th when Sue Wood retired after 27 years as a school nurse. We are grateful for her service and wish her the very, very best. There is always a lot of activity at Ossipee Central School, where there is a long-standing culture of community involvement. From early in the morning until the doors close in the early evening for the school's out after school program, there is so much offered to support students academically and socially. Some fun learning activities over the past year have included some new approaches to engaging students in hands-on math, such as kindergartners developing their own pattern necklaces. Science learning included 5th graders working with pill bug habitats, while 2nd graders were engaged in their own STEM learning activities. 1st graders worked on replicas of themselves, no easy task. The 4th graders took part in a much anticipated tradition of dressing in period clothing as part of their Colonial Day project. While great activities enrich academic learning, there is also something to be said for sharing talents such as singing, which Ossapee's 2nd graders did so well when they performed at their holiday concert. Ossipee has many traditions that they celebrate each year, and there is a real sense of pride and community when you step through the doors. As many of you know, Wolfeboro Central School celebrated their 80th anniversary this past year. The celebration held at the start of the year drew many members of the community, as well as former staff and administrators, who were as proud to be there as our superintendent, staff, and student. This was a fantastic celebration honoring the school and community. Wolfeboro has really embraced mindfulness in their school culture as well, learning things such as zones of regulation that help students identify how well-focused they are and how self-regulated their behavior is, so they are ready for optimal learning. Fourth graders across the district look forward to music classes, as this is the year when they get their recorders as part of their music curriculum. TCS students are demonstrating their collaborative learning in the picture on the bottom left of the screen. Two great activities specifically to highlight from this past year include TCS welcoming Scott Cannon to the school for a very well-received mime and music workshop. Also, the TCS robotics team made it into the LEGO League state final. This is so impressive considering our robotics teams only began just a few years ago. We are so thankful to all of the staff and volunteers who give their time to clubs like this. We are very fortunate, not just here at TCS, but across the district, for the above and beyond efforts of staff and volunteers to give our students rich opportunities both in and out of the classroom. This year, the major focus of the Language Arts Task Force is to provide continued support to our teachers in writing instruction and to explore and support spelling instruction. We developed and shared checklists to help students reflect on and self-evaluate their writing. We are also in the early stages of organizing a writing committee of middle and high school teachers to explore and support content area teachers in promoting more student writing. The Language Arts Task Force has also been working to provide support to teachers in the area of spelling. Last summer, we held a workshop on using words their way, and this summer we hope to bring teachers together again for more professional development around engaging and effective spelling instruction. This May, we are excited to be hosting our first district-wide spelling bee, and we encourage community members to attend to celebrate our students. After always overseeing the successful implementation and the updating and aligning social studies curriculum, as well as developing a list of key social studies vocabulary for each grade level, the Social Studies Task Force continues to solicit teacher needs and provide support as needed. Teachers and students in kindergarten through grade 6 have been following an approach to math that emphasizes developing and strengthening student number sense. This strong foundation allows students to better understand more difficult math skills and concepts that they can apply to solving real-world problems. This year, our grade 7 and 8th grade teachers have been receiving ongoing coaching in this model, and students are gaining a deeper understanding as they learn more abstract math concepts. The Math Task Force continues to assess math instruction and needs and address them as appropriate. This is the third full year of implementation of the updated and aligned science curriculum. The Science Task Force developed key vocabulary lists for each grade level and has been providing resource suggestions to support teachers in teaching science. A strong focus has been promoting inquiry in our science classrooms and encouraging our students to think and work like scientists. Additionally, several elementary schools hosted successful camp Inventions last summer and plan to do so again this year. Volunteers. Across the district, PTO and volunteers actively and selflessly engage with our school communities to raise funds to supplement programs, chaperone, assist in classrooms, donate materials, and assist on special projects. Our PTOs and volunteers are significant partners in our work. Funds raised by our PTOs have provided our schools with artists and authors in the schools, field trips, and other great enrichment activities. Our schools are always among the select schools receiving the New Hampshire Blue Ribbon Achievement Award in honor of the high level of volunteer participation these schools enjoy. We are thankful for that participation on behalf of our students. This past year, I am pleased to report that over 6,000 volunteer hours were logged across our elementary schools. Thank you to all of our school volunteers. That's a lot, and that concludes my State of the School address. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jack. That's very comprehensive. We appreciate it. So now let's get to the substantive matters that we're here for today. We'll begin by discussing Article 2, which you'll find again at the back of the annual report. I will read Article 2. To see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Government-Wentworth Regional School Board and the Government-Wentworth Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. For the fiscal year 2020, the estimated decrease is $2,617. For the 2021 year, would increase $203,203. And for the 2022 fiscal year, it would increase $213,567. And to raise and appropriate $0 this year. If this article passes, the operating budget will be reduced by $2,617 for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, which represents the additional cost savings attributable to the increase in salaries and reduction in benefits required by the new agreement over those that will be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation. In order for it to pass or fail in March, it will need a majority vote. So I understand that Wendy, our vice chair, will address this article, so I recognize Wendy first. Wendy?
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Okay, I can hear it. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. It's nice to see so many of you here. This fall, the Governor-Wentworth Regional School District School Board representatives met with all three unions, the support staff, the teachers, and administrators to negotiate a new contract for each of those groups. We all felt very good about the tenure and the outcomes of the negotiations in all three meetings. The contracts are winning agreements for everyone. All three groups have agreed with some significant changes in the insurances. Employees will be paying a portion of the insurance premiums, which I will go into more detail in a few moments. In addition to the cost sharing of insurance premium, all eligible employees will be changing to a consumer-driven plan through the school care called the Yellow Plan with Choice. Consumer-driven plans are relatively new. Costs for services varying significant among locations and service providers. This type of plan puts the consumer in the position of choosing where and who provides the service and gives them an opportunity to consider the cost of the services among locations and service providers. The insurance plans are very similar to the plan district's staff have now. The major difference is the consumer has more responsibility for selecting where the services are provided, whom the services are provided, and factoring the costs when making this decision. The consumer-driven plan is less expensive to the school district. We also expect it will be less expensive to the district over time. According to school care, over the past few years, the increase of the premiums for the consumer-driven plan has increased much more slowly than other insurance plans. The district was able to save $183,684 in insurance costs for the next year. However, in the collective bargaining agreements, there will be additional insurance cost savings. The information on the screen outlines the portion of the insurance premiums and the staff support have agreed to assume. Support staff who are eligible for insurance will pay 2% copay for the first year of the agreement, 2.5% the second year, and 3% the third year. All new support staff who begin their employment after July 1st, 2019 will be responsible to pay 10% of the insurance premium. With this increase of the insurance copay for the support staff, the negotiating team recognized in making this change, support staff could end up with less money in their pockets. We did not want to penalize our staff for agreeing to change insurance. We have a dedicated, hard-working employees. This would not have been fair to them or recognize the contributions they have made to our districts and our children each day. Additionally, because of the economy is good right now, the wages on some of our support staff would put us in competition with other employers in the food service, tourist industries, which would make it much harder to employ and retain qualified people. This new collective bargaining agreement should help us recruit, retain our quality support staff. We also consider in the net reduction in the dollars our employees would be taking home. This is not a winning strategy in negotiation. As you can see on the warrant article that for 2020, the reduced insurance costs offset the increase in wages so that we can net effect a minus of $2,617.
Thank you, Wendy. Is there any discussion or questions regarding Article 2? Yes, sir. And then feel free to go right over the microphone and just stack up if you'd like to speak.
So those of you that don't know me, my name is Carlos Clough. I am not originally from around here. To give you a little bit of my background, I have an advanced technical certificate from Boise State University. I also have an associate's degree from Des Moines, Iowa, Des Moines Area Community College with a pre-engineering and IT business emphasis. I currently work in the IT department, and there are some additional concerns I have relative to the wages and the cap or considerations therein. Currently, I support Effingham, New Durham, Tuftonboro, and Ossipee. My son currently goes to Ossipee School. With the offset adjustments and wage increases and decreases, I'm already sitting currently on the margin lines to the point that I'm looking for other employment. The question I have, and part of this was notated, competitive wages relative to the demands of an understaffed IT department. I travel almost 500 miles every month. Every hour I spend on the road is that much time that the students of this district do not have support. We as an IT department are already overstretched and understaffed. We have tickets that have been sitting out that are impacting your students district-wide. And with the new guidelines that are coming down from the state to the House relative to privacy and the guidelines, the demands for our time and our abilities are going up. I can tell you, I give you $20,000 a year more by traveling to Portland an hour away. I've chosen not to do that because I wish to spend time with my family. But I think the entirety of the populace of this district needs to know that the budgetary and competitive nature of certain aspects of the support staff needs to be addressed beyond what the competitive bargaining agreement allows. And that should a cap be placed, I won't say.
All right, thank you. And just one reminder, we are on Article 2. You mentioned the tax cap a couple of times. That will be discussed under Article 12. If we can focus just on Article 2, that would be helpful.
Good morning. My name is Diane Smith. I'm from Brookfield, and I want to commend the school board and their negotiating team for the sea change, evidently, in the way that the healthcare costs were addressed. So, congratulations. And I attended the budget hearing and was really pleased But when I saw this article, my pleasure was a little bit diminished because I looked at what was a negative cost for this item and the repeats and the other warrant articles related to the union contracts, that there will be a significant increase next year in this cost item. The net effect will be a jump of almost $206,000 next year. And so that I won't bore you for the next two articles that address the labor contracts, I'm going to lump them all together now. The total increase next year, the relative jump in the cost items for the labor contracts for next year, will increase the overall budget by $384,400. My question to the school board is, how will that be made up elsewhere in the budget so that there won't be a significant jump in the next 2 years?
Thank you. Does somebody like to address that in the school board?
First, I want to say I was part of the negotiating team, and for all three negotiating encounters that we have, and I can tell you I was truly honored and blessed to work with our teachers. They work extremely hard to support our community, our kids working above and beyond 8-hour days, and I feel what they came to the table and what we were able to provide, they deserve to have a raise. And unfortunately, our budget, most of it is people. And those people work and live in our community and not only work at the school, but they'll stay after school, they're volunteers, they're part of the community. And I can tell you that I have, my daughter goes here, I have stepchildren, and I would vote to support these people any day of the week. And I know that it's a tax burden on us, but these are people, and these people get our kids to post-secondary education, and they have agreed to pay for benefits. And that is, it's part of the changing time in our economy, and I know that it's hard and we do have to cut back, but we also have to get our kids ready for the 21st century. So to me, it's important, and I think that as a school district, our administrators, our principals, they look at every line possible to deliver the best education they can, but be responsible with our monies, because it's all of us. We're all sitting at our kitchen tables because they live with us in our community, looking at our budgets and saying, how can we be responsible? I don't think anyone wants to be irresponsible with the monies that thankfully the taxpayers have graciously given us year after year. Thank you.
Randy?
Yes, sir.
Randy, I'm going to come back onto that as well. I think one of the areas that you have an increase in one year for say teacher salaries or any of these other salaries. There's a way that I'll talk about more in the budget process that can certainly help offset some of these increases over the next few years. And that's for you to contact your state legislators and ask them to re-up their commitment to the New Hampshire retirement system. And I'm going to get into the details a little bit more later on, but we can more than offset the increase next year if the state legislature would authorize the 35% contribution for the teachers' retirement system that they used to pay. They stopped paying that back in 2010. It went from 35% to 25% to 0. And I'll show you the numbers later. But in this budget alone, coming forward, it's costing you, the taxpayers, $794,000 more out of your pocket because the state legislature said, we're not going to pay it anymore. And that was not the basis of when the retirement system was first established. So I think, we do a lot to control what happens in our budget, but when the state of New Hampshire basically thumbs our nose at us and says, yeah, we made you a promise, but we're no longer going to support that, who's going to pay for that? That's you, the taxpayers.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan Smith from the town of Ossipee. Can you address the insurance buyout option for all staff, whether it's administrative, teachers, or support staff? If someone opts out, what's the compensation for that?
Anybody here?
Okay, the buyout option is a $2,000 buyout option.
Okay, that's for the teachers. What about the administrators?
$2,000.
So it's $2,000 across the board?
Oh, it's the cost of the insurance. Okay, it's actually the cost of the insurance for the administrators.
So a family plan is probably $28,000 altogether?
26,700.
So they get a stipend or a buyout of the full value of the plan?
If they chose to.
That doesn't seem like a win for the taxpayer at all. It should be split somewhere in the middle, or similar to the teachers, which is $2,000.
Right now, our administrators are taking the insurance, so.
However, in the future, that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Any further discussion on Article 2? And seeing none, we will move on to Article 3. Shall the Governor of Wentworth Regional School District, if Article 2 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 2 cost items only? Again, a majority vote will be required for this to pass or fail in March. Is there any discussion on Article 3? And I understand, Wendy, you're going to address that.
The law provides the ability to hold one special school district meeting to consider a new proposal to a failed collective bargaining agreement article, which I certainly hope you will support Article 2. If this article is approved, and if the Article 2 should fail, the school board would re-enter into collective bargaining agreement with the Governor Wentworth Support Staff Association and bring a proposal to voters to consider. Again, this applies only if Article 2 fails, and it preserves the right of the voters to have the final say on the collective bargaining agreement.
Any discussion on Article 3? Generally just a housekeeping article. Move on to Article 4. To see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Governor Wentworth Regional School Board and the Governor Wentworth Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. This is a 4-year contract for fiscal year 2020. The estimated increase is $419,719. For 2021, it's $526,166. For 2022, it's $540,513. And for the 2023 fiscal year, it's $554,666. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $419,719 for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Such sums representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that will be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation again in March to require a majority vote to either pass or fail. I understand Stacy Treitz will be addressing this. Stacy?
Good morning. The teachers have opted for a 4-year agreement as well as agreeing to a change in the consumer-driven health plan. In addition to the change to a consumer-driven health plan, they have agreed to a copay that increases in each of the 4 years. In year 1, the teachers will be responsible for 3% of the copay, year 2, 5% of the copay, year 3, 7%, and finally the 4th year, it increases to 10%. The teachers' collective bargaining agreement includes steps plus a 2.25 increase, the first of the 3-year contract, year 2, a 2% increase, year 3, a 2% increase, and the final year, a 2.25% increase. The total cost of the salary increase for teachers is $687,478.59. The cost savings to the district as a result of the change in insurance for teachers is $261,962. The insurance savings offsets the cost of the salary increase, reducing the impact of the increase to $425,516. Since teachers will be paying more out of their health insurance program, some, as like the support staff, ran the risk of taking home less money. Again, we did not want to see our teachers taking a financial step backward. Part of our calculations was finding a number that would not result in teachers going home with less money, yet stay in balance with what the budget and taxpayers can bear. The savings on insurance reduced the impact of the first year of collective bargaining agreement by 38%. We believe that increases are fair to teachers and put us on a better path with our insurance costs going forward. We ask that you please support Article 4.
Is there any discussion or questions regarding Article 4? Mr. Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Board. Yes, Mr. Bickford from New Durham. And one of the things I'm concerned about is, I don't know where the benchmark is. I don't think most voters do when it comes to salary or wages. And it used to be, at least in many towns, they would publish what the wages are of each individual. And I noticed that in the annual report, there is a listing of individuals in there, what their degrees are, and that sort of thing. So I am going to recommend, for transparency, that we know where the benchmarks are and know what the salaries and wages are. I also have a question. Why the contracts are swinging in periods of time such? Last year, I believe it was 1 year we talked about. Previously, I think it was 3 years, and now we're at a 4-year period. So if someone could address that.
Sure, well, I can talk about that. If you understand, when you get into negotiating contracts, it's quite a lengthy process. To do a 1-year contract every year is extremely difficult, as you might understand. And part of the reason for extending the contract this year was partially because of the health care change and the scaling of how much they would pay on an ongoing basis toward the premiums. That was kind of a critical area for us to look at during the negotiations. We could have gotten a 1-year deal at they pay 3%, and then next year we'd be back for another round of negotiations for increases or decreases and all of that, depending on how much they want to pay. Anytime you can get a longer-term contract that locks you in, it certainly makes our job putting a budget together, knowing what some of the fixed costs are going to be going forward. From year to year, we don't know that. So I think on a basis of trying to negotiate contracts, it's much more beneficial, I think, to not only the board in negotiating, the staff members and knowing what they're going to be getting and having to pay, but also the taxpayers in the knowledge that we have some understanding on what those fixed costs are for the teachers and the levels of support that we have. So that's one of the main reasons for multi-year contracts.
Well, last year you convinced me on the 1 year, but...
Well, last year, the 1-year contract, if you remember, kept us into the old insurance program.
Okay.
One of the things too is if this was a 1-year contract as opposed to 3, there's no guarantee that next year we come back and be able to tell you that the teachers are now going to be paying 5% of the health care. That may not be on the table next year. When you get into negotiations, they may be looking for additional staff members, they may be additional wages. They may not be willing to go from 3% to 5% for copay. They've stepped forward. They've made the commitment that in 4 years they're going to be paying 10% of the health care, and that's an important piece for us to know and for you to know that they're taking that responsibility very seriously.
Well, I just want to say I don't want to go too far out. I wouldn't want to see us go 6 years out the next time.
No. I think, and it's interesting because if you know the contract negotiated prior to this one, not the 1 year last year, was about 7 years ago, and it was a 3-year contract. And the teachers and the support staff and the administrators at that time came to us at the expiration of those contracts and asked if we do a simple extension. That was a great opportunity for us at the time. This time we were changing our health care plans, so that was not an option this year. It did come up as a discussion point, but that was an option because we wanted to make sure that the health care plan was changed to the consumer-driven plan, which was, I think, very important for us now and for the district in the future.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Wendy.
Any further questions, or Scott?
Scott Lonsbury from Wolfeboro. You mentioned the current staffing levels. I just need to ask, is that like a hiring freeze for the next 3-4 years, for the next years?
Not necessarily. We always look at our staffing needs, and I'll go into that a little bit with the budget process, but over the years as the school-age population started to decrease, we recognized that. We understood that was happening. So as teachers retired, we were able to reduce our professional staff and support staff to an extent through attrition. So as people retired, we didn't have to lay off anybody, but we reduced staff through retirements. You'll see there's a few additional part-time positions in this year's budget. Every year we have to look at our staffing needs, what's required within each one of our buildings, and make decisions based on that. So the answer is we don't know. Our intent is to keep the staffing levels at a reasonable number to provide the educational support that we need for our students. But again, from year to year, that might change a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Any further? Yes, sir.
Again, my name is Carlos Hoff. I think the gentleman that just, I believe the room from Wolfeboro made a very valid point relative to the staff directory, but it may not be fully, well, it lists the instructors, it doesn't list the additional staff that makes the schools run. And that may be beneficial to the district as a whole to see who's providing that functionality and what their qualifications are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. That can certainly be in addition to the process. I think people really think, okay, the schools are staffed by teachers and they take care of the kids, but like I said before, the support staff, the administrators, every member of our school community is as important as the other in providing the support and the needs of our students. So that's a very good point. We'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Any further discussion or any other questions regarding Article 4? Seeing none, we will move on to Article 5. Shall the Government-Wentworth Regional School District, if Article 4 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 4 cost items only? This is the same as the earlier article. Is there any discussion regarding Article 5? And Stacy, you're going to address this briefly.
Yeah, Randy. So this article, again, it's similar to Article 3, and it allows the district to hold a special school district meeting to consider a new proposal should Article 4 be defeated. If approved and Article 4 were to fail, the school board would then re-enter negotiations with the Governor-Wentworth Education Association and bring forward a proposal for the voters to consider. So again, this only applies if Article 4 fails.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 6. To see if the Government-Wentworth Regional School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Government-Wentworth Regional School Board and the Governor Wentworth administrative team, which calls for the following increases in salary and benefits at the current staffing level. For the fiscal year 2020, there will be an estimated decrease of $40,777. For 2021, an increase of $31,365. And for 2022, there'll be an increase of $32,025. The raise and appropriate $0. If this article passes, the operating budget will be reduced by $40,777 for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, which represents the additional cost savings attributable to the increase in salaries and reduction in benefits required by the new agreement over those we paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation, and Wendy, you're going to address this first. So, Wendy.
Thank you very much. Ready? The agreement of the Governor Wentworth administrative team is a 3-year agreement. Like the other two groups, the administrators have agreed to a change to the consumer-driven health insurance plan. This group will also be paying a portion of the cost of the insurance premium. If this article passes next year, the administrators will pay 2% of the insurance premium. The following year is 2.5%. In the third year of the contract, it is 3%. Administrators who've begun their work with the district on or after July 1st, 2019 will pay 10% of the insurance premium. The agreement with the administrators, once again, is a 3-year agreement. Along with the changes of the health insurance for the administrators, they have agreed to a 2% increase of the 3-year of their agreement. The change to the consumer-driven plan and to the increase to the health insurance copayment, and this will help offset the wage increase. You can see on the warrant article and that the next fiscal year 2020 and the reduction of the insurance cost with a wage increase in the savings of $40,777 in the first year of the agreement. We are very pleased to have multi-year agreements with all 3 groups. We appreciate the concessions made by each to move forward in a different insurance plan and for them to pay a portion of their premiums. While the consumer-driven plan contains some different approaches to coverage, it is comparable to the current plan. The wage increase is fair and provides our employees with a competitive wage for the area. We are all grateful to our staff and what they provide for our students, and they are the most significant factor in advancing and learning and their well-being.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any questions or comments regarding Article 6? Seeing none, I'll move on to Article 7. Shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, if Article 6 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 6 cost items only? When are you going to address this?
This article allows for us to consider a new proposal should the administrative collective bargaining agreement article not pass. If approved, Article 7, which should fail, the school board would re-enter collective bargaining agreement with the Governor Wentworth administrative team and bring forward a resolution for the voters to consider. Again, this would only apply if Article 7 should fail.
Any discussion regarding Article 7? And just a housekeeping one. We'll move on to Article 8. Before we do that, we're about halfway there. Would someone like to move not to restrict reconsideration of Articles 2 through 7? Or second? Second. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Articles 2 through 7, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we will not reconsider those today. Article 8, to see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $60,000 to be added to the turf field capital reserve fund previously established, and furthermore, to name the school board as agents to expend. This sum to come from the June 30, 2019 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2019. No amount to be raised by taxation. And Wendy, you're going to address this again?
Julian.
All right, let's try Julian then.
Thank you, Randy. For several years now, we have presented the Turf Field Capital Reserve warrant article. These fields have been in tip-top shape for our athletes and have increased the availability of practice time due to the fact that they remain in good condition in spite of use and weather. They have a life expectancy of approximately 12 years at a cost between $700,000 and $750,000 to replace. The capital reserve was established to avoid having the district get hit with a full expense all at once of replacing the turf field. Since this is a predictable expense, setting aside a certain amount each year is a more reasonable way for taxpayers to manage this expense over time. As we have in prior years, the school board is proposing to fund the account with money from the unreserved fund balance not to exceed $60,000. We would like to stay on schedule and have the money available when the replacement is needed.
Thank you, Julianne. Is there any discussion regarding Article 8? Mr. Bickford.
Could you tell me what the fund balance is?
Jack?
Right now, according to to what Kathy has come up here, we have about $316,000 in the fund right now.
That was 316.
316.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? Yes, sir. I noticed the last two times you came up, the microphone's a little low for you. You might just twist it up if you'd like.
All right. A small question on the initial warrant. I'm not from around here so that I can understand. The initial warrant is for the replacement of the field. Is that for a replacement of the same type of field, or is that for the ability to look at other options, such as redeveloping the field into a specialty drained real turf field?
Sure, I think we have the gist of the question. Thank you. Jack?
Well, the initial idea is to replace the turf field that's there. Right now, the turf field supports many, many different sporting programs. The idea of having a real turf field has been looked at year after year after year. The problem with an old turf field, regardless of what kind of drainage you have, is it gets chewed up by one sports program and it can't recover for the next sports program to be ready for. So once we put the turf field in, it gave our sports teams much more opportunity to use that facility and not have to worry about the actual condition of the field itself. So the idea is going forward is to replace the turf surface when it's needed to be replaced.
Yes, sir.
Gordon Lang, I teach English here, and some of my students have been researching this very topic, and they've been interviewing Aaron House, our athletic director, and he's been proactive on this and is looking at alternative subsurface substrates that can eliminate any health damages that might be associated with current artificial turf, and so we're looking at an improvement of the current system.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Orlowitz, New Durham. Could you please tell me where we are in the life cycle? You had said that it's about a 12-year life cycle for the turf. For the turf that's currently in the field, do we know where we are in that cycle? Thank you.
Jack?
Right now, it looks like the life cycle has about another 6 years to go. So again, if we have 6 years at $60,000, we'll have just about the right amount of money to replace the turf field if that's what we wind up doing. And I appreciate your comment, Gordon. If if there are other alternatives out there when the time comes, we're certainly willing to look at whatever is best for our district and what is best for the athletes at that point in time.
Diane?
On the other end of the height spectrum. Diane Smith from Brookfield. I'm not here to ask a question about the turf. I'm here to ask a question about the unassigned fund balance. This is stated that it's not coming from taxation, but coming from the unassigned fund balance. And looking at the paperwork, it appears that there is another $500,000 that's expected to be used out of the unassigned fund balance to support this budget, to get to a, well, at any rate. So my question, I have a specific question. Can you tell us what the expected amount of unassigned fund balance there will be going into this coming fiscal year that we're discussing?
We only have the numbers from last June 30th. We won't know that until June 30th of this year. So, when we do a budget up, depending on any unusual expenses, whatever we budget, expecting to spend the money that we budget. If we don't, if we don't have to spend all that money, obviously there's going to be an unexpended fund balance. That money gets turned back into the taxpayers as a reduction in the proposed budgets. We don't keep any of that money within the district. So the $60,000 will come from whatever is left over, but we won't know that until the close of business of June of this year. So we won't know if that the $60,000 we're recommending today is even available until June of this year.
Okay.
So the money that you're talking about now is money that was left over from June last year.
Yes, I understand that.
And I said, but we didn't know that number until we actually closed the books on June 30th. So the bills came in, some bills coming in July, obviously, or apply for the school year. So we don't know that exact number until after the school year begins.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
Jonathan Smith, Ossipee. So you don't carry any dollars in the fund balance? At all?
That is correct. The state of New Hampshire allows us to, but we have always made the decision that all unexpended funds go back to the taxpayers.
Okay, good. I know normally within a municipality, DRA recommends a minimum amount. You don't follow that?
Well, there's no minimum amount recommended for school districts. The school board, the state allows the school district to keep, I believe it's 2.5%. And so we could keep 2.5% in a fund balance if we wanted to. We have made the decision as a board that all unexpended funds go back to the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Orlowitz, New Durham. Is there a maintenance cost figure available for maintaining the turf fields annually within the budget?
Yeah, well, we do it with our regular maintenance staff, so we don't break it out individually with, for other maintenance projects that go on, so it's not a specific number. Whatever maintenance needs to be done comes out of our maintenance staff total budget. So we haven't really broken that down. We might be able to get some more specifics for you.
Any further questions, comments? Counting Article 8. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Article 9. Shall the Wentworth Regional School District raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 for repairs and improvements of buildings/grounds at the Kingswood Regional High School, Kingswood Regional Middle School, Lakes Region Technology Center, Kingswood Arts Center, Carpenter School, Crescent Lake School, Effingham Elementary School, New Durham School, the Ossipee Central School, the Tuckenboro Central School, and the SAU 49 Transportation Facility. Ernie, you're going to address this today?
Yes, sir. Each year, we have presented a capital improvement warrant article in order to provide a safe and healthy learning environment for our students and staff and to protect the district's assets. For many years prior to the Kingswood project, this capital improvement warrant article was at $200,000. It was reduced for a few years until it returned to the $200,000 in 2015. But since the energy performance contract on our elementary schools, we were able to reduce this to $200,000 or to $150,000 due to this project's cost savings. We knew that in the near future we would need to again seek the original $200,000 due to the age of some of our buildings. That time came. I'm going to take a few minutes to highlight for you some of the great works that have been done over the past year, as well as highlight some projects that demonstrate the need for the increase in our request. Before I move on, however, I would like to say thank you for how beautifully maintained our buildings are. If you go into Carpenter School, which is a rather elderly school, you look at those floors, they look like they're brand new. Its maintenance staff does tremendous work. And so I very much appreciate the hard work of our With the $150,000 that you voters approved last year, we were able to complete a significant number of our projects, beginning with the roof at Crescent Lake. On the left side of the slide is the completed north side of the 6th grade wing. The attic vents were installed at the peak of the roof and every 4 feet to allow the heat to escape. This will help to extend the life of our roofs. We have changed the color of the shingles to a fox hollow gray to reduce the UV impact as well. As you can see, the vents were critical to reducing the attic temperatures as illustrated here. And I'd just like to point out that the first one, the temperature up there is 140 degrees. On a day outside that was, yeah, here it is. Where's it?
81 degrees.
Yeah, 81 degrees, I'm sorry. And after these improvements, even though the temperature was up 10 degrees hotter, the roof temperature had been reduced by 10 degrees. And again, that doesn't sound like much, but heat destroys a lot of these shingles, and so we're trying to protect our roofs to get a longer life out of it. That's what that's about. This is a complete south side of the 6th grade wing. Again, the roof vents were installed midway to the roof to provide a 3rd level of ventilation. The 1st level of the soffits, the 2nd of the new vents midway, and the 3rd of the ridge vents. We were also able to address the front section of the roof over the main entrance and the office of Effingham Elementary School. As Jack mentioned earlier, the Wolfeboro Central School celebrated their 80th anniversary this past year, and it was an excellent time to address several exterior and interior projects in anticipation of opening day. We were able to prime and paint the basement walls, as well as repair, prime and paint the side entrance and the picturesque cupola, as well as our maintenance team working tirelessly and with great pride to restore the Wolfeboro Central School's beauty. And you can see the significant difference between the before and after on that entry. A significant undertaking also at Wolfeboro Central School was clearing the leach field of brush. As many of you know, it's critical to septic systems that the leach field function properly. When the leach field is not properly installed, it can clear, issues with pipes, clogging, and worst case scenario, system failure can occur. This preventative maintenance on the leach field helps us to avoid far more costly issues that could have arisen. On the right-hand side of this slide, you can see the Carpenter School also saw upgrades to the side entrance, which was primed and painted, and they also repainted 105 interior door frames, along with patching and painting the stairwells. Other projects completed over the summer included painting the auto body shop and hallways at the Lakes Region Technology Center. Here you can see the much needed priming and painting of the Kingswood Middle School rear canopy handrail. Future capital improvement projects will continue to allow us to address significant repairs across the district. We have several top priorities for fiscal year 2020, including the fuel pumping system at Ossipee Central School. One of our top priorities for this fiscal year include the project here. You see here the fuel pumping system at Ossipee Central School. Let me just say that changes a fuel pump from operating 24/7 year-round to only on demand. It should be significant energy savings. Although this project was a priority for this year, we learned that the repair was more extensive than we expected. We had to get permits from the state, and the first phase of this repair includes repiping over 100 feet of underground piping, and so we got to wait on the ground to thaw before we can get on with this project. Other capital improvement projects that are high on our priority list across the district include Ossipee Central School playground walkway repair, as well as upgrades to the security window in the office foyer at the Kingswood Regional High School. The cow wall at the Durham Elementary School also needs to be replaced. This is the last cow wall in the system. I will applaud when that is gone. Another significant project on our list is the replacement of the 1954 section of the Carpenter Elementary School roof. We've been fortunate to be able to take care of many roofing issues proactively over the years, and I hope that we can continue to do so. Here you can see the interior window on the 1938 section of Tuftonboro Central School. They're beautiful old windows. They still have the ballast that goes up and down when you open and close the windows, and the air flows through. These are not energy efficient, so we have hopes of maintaining the historical character of the school, but go with some interior storm windows to improve the energy efficiency. Other projects high on our list include adding security film to the main entrance windows at both Effingham and Ossipee, as well as installing a dry valve in the Lakes Regent Technology greenhouse to eliminate heater usage in the winter. Again, working to reduce the cost to the taxpayers. As you can see, we have some expensive projects on this list and another list of secondary priorities. I cannot tell you how important your support of these projects is. It has allowed us to proactively address needs in our district before they become urgent and more costly items. Momentarily here, I'm going to digress for a small thank you to some people. In November, the year 2000, the school put together a committee to look into space needs issues. That committee sat down over 18 months and built a program to cover the district's anticipated space needs through the year 2020. And this budget you're looking to approve is through the year 2020. So I think it's done an excellent job. The plan was implemented and fully executed. And I just wanted to say that this committee was made up of the school board and a selectman from each town. And it really worked well. Some of the selectmen, Tuftonboro, Rick Gelman, Ossipee, Harry Merritt, Effingham, John Meisner, Brookfield, Bill Nelson, and Wolfeboro, Linda Murray. Some of the school board members were Gordon Hunt, myself, and Scott Fadden, Jim Rhines, David Luke, Bill Nelson, and you all remember Kay Moody. Each year when we present the capital improvement budget, we do the comparison of the cost of maintaining our schools to the cost of maintaining the average home. The annual cost of repairs at $200,000 for approximately 640,000 square feet of district property is comparable to home repairs at $422 for an 1,800 square foot home. I think that's quite reasonable. I urge you to protect your assets and vote yes on this article. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. Is there any questions, comments regarding Article 9? Yes, sir. Mr. Bickler.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ernie, what is the R factor change in the cow wall? In other words, what does the cow wall have for insulating value? And what are you going to replace it with?
I know that figure quite well.
Thank you.
A single layer of camel wall, like we used to have in the high school, The R factor is 2.1. That's about like a piece of cardboard. It's almost nothing. So in the New Durham school, we're going to take that portion of the wall out and rebuild it to standard construction, hopefully to get it 20 to 30. Significantly, 10 times better. Again, all of these projects are designed to reduce our energy consumption to help protect the taxpayers.
That will be around 20?
Yes.
Yes. Any further questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, we will move on to the budget. Article 10. Shall the Governor, Wentworth Regional School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth in the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $54,042,248. Should this article be defeated, the default budget should be $52,754,500, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Wentworth Regional School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Jack, you're going to help us with the budget?
I will. If you want, as we get into the actual numbers, the green sheet in your handout will probably follow along with some of the numbers. We're not going to be there quite yet, but when we get there, the green sheet is the one that you want to be following. I'm going to start the budget process with some information about the budget discussion, with some information about the budget process, so I have an idea of how we arrive at the final budget recommendations. Preparation of the budget begins in October. The principals work with the faculty and staff who provide them with requests and recommendations regarding what is needed for each school. Each administrator submits a budget to the SAU office. The business administrator and superintendent of schools meets with each of them to discuss their individual requests. If there is a large increase in an individual school budget, unless there is a special circumstance, the administrator is asked to review the budget again and reduce it while keeping their priorities intact. After this, if a large increase remains, a second cut may occur. Personnel requests are made at the same time. Requests for positions may or may not proceed to the Finance Committee, depending on the strength of the rationale outlining the need for the position. The business administrator reviews the district line items and determines the amounts to request based on past history, current expenditures, and projected pricing. After cuts, adjustments, and reallocations have been made, the Finance Committee meets with each principal, the special education director, the business administrator, and the superintendent to hear the budget requests. At this time, the Finance Committee recommends the changes they feel are necessary to bring a budget to the voters that supports what they are trying to accomplish for the students in our schools and that the voters will support. And the budget is a result of this process. When the Finance Committee reviews the requests from the administrators, we consider the programs and services needed to provide the quality education we want for our students. We are proud of our programs and what our students accomplish. There is a relationship between the condition of the economy and how much taxpayers can afford to pay in taxes. We pay attention to the condition of the economy and try to limit the budget increases as much as possible without compromising the quality of our students' education. It is all a balancing act. Collective bargaining agreements have a substantial impact on the budget, since 78% of the budget is spent on personnel. Hiring decisions are some of the most important decisions made in the district. Our staff is our most valuable resource. Maintaining our infrastructure is important in order to preserve the value of our assets and to prevent accelerating costs. If smaller problems are left unattended, they will become larger and more costly.
Our enrollment drives many of the budget requests. Supplies, equipment, and personnel are all related to how many students we have. Last but not least, changing social conditions impact what we need to provide for our students. Our students need to be prepared for a world dominated by technology. If we are going to teach our students to use technology, there are going to be equipment costs. Another example of changing social conditions is the impact of the opioid crisis. We have more students than ever living with parents who are addicted to opioids or living with relatives due to addiction in the families. This has a serious impact on the children and the services they need both in and out of school. A quick look at New Hampshire's economy is very encouraging. The jobless rate is very low at 2.2%, lower than the national average of 3.7%. A 5% unemployment rate is considered full employment. The current problem for New Hampshire is not that jobs are not available, but people are not available to fill those positions. The Carsey School of Public Policy reports that childhood poverty in New Hampshire is the lowest in the nation, down from last year. 95% of Granite Staters have health insurance, according to the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute, protecting more people from the catastrophic financial impact of serious illness with no insurance. The median household income in New Hampshire has been rising steadily since 2014, last year increasing 2.79%, and over the past 3 years, just under 9%. According to the latest U.S. Census data, New Hampshire ranks #1 in median household income. New Hampshire's workforce is one of the best educated in the country, and using the most recent statistical data available, the U.S. News and World Report ranked New Hampshire as #1 in the nation for economic opportunity. Right now, the economy in New Hampshire is doing very well, much better than it has in many years. But as good as the economy is, we know not everyone is benefiting from these favorable conditions. So we continue to keep the budget as low as possible without compromising what our students need. The district controls the budget growth in several ways. The final budget is based on priorities. Distinguishing between wants and needs is part of the process. Needs are prioritized and included in the budget. However, not every request that is made is granted. Because revenue offsets the tax rate, our SAU office is doing as much as it can to capture reimbursements to the district through Medicaid and special education aid. All the grants we are entitled to are pursued, and the district has had success in accessing competitive grant funds. Our 21st Century After School program in Ossipee and our robotics program receive substantial grant funding, for example. Our energy conservation project, as Ernie mentioned, has been an excellent means of controlling energy costs and has helped to offset other increasing costs. Careful long-term planning is another part of controlling costs, though this can be difficult. It is not uncommon to be saddled with an expense as a result of a mandate from the state legislature without the opportunity to plan for it. This year, for example, the legislation was passed requiring water testing to be completed prior to July 1st, this fiscal year, for a cost of $31,000 to the district. Data security legislation requires the district to implement procedures prior to July 1st. Again, this fiscal year, projected to cost between $50,000 and $60,000. The state legislators passed these laws with no consideration for the fact that budgets had already been approved by the voters for this fiscal year, and these costs are in addition to what was budgeted. The most significant step we have taken this year to control budget growth has been a change to the consumer-driven health plan, which you've heard about, and the addition of employee contributions to the health insurance premium. As you have heard, the cost of this plan is lower than traditional plans, and it is projected that the cost of the premiums will rise much slower than the cost of traditional health plans. District enrollment overall is up this year. In some schools, we have more students, and in others, fewer. Enrollment in each school varies from year to year. This has made staffing difficult. However, the schools have found some creative ways to make this work without reducing staff for one year, then hiring the next. As the numbers fluctuate at Carpenter and Crescent Lake schools, for example, they share a staff member based on which school has the need for an additional classroom. The staff member moves from one school to another each year due to that fluctuation. It is important to note that we anticipated declining enrollment and reduced the staff accordingly through tradition. I mentioned that before. We also implemented full-day kindergarten without adding staff a few years ago. We have also added Middleton students, which brings in tuition for the district. This has kept the growth of the budget down, while at the same time, we continue to meet the needs of our students. Currently, after a number of years of declining enrollment, the number of students in our schools seems to be trending upward, which is great news. This is a quick snapshot of the major budget categories and where each currently stands. The employee expenses increased by 2.9%. The general fund increase is at 4.59%. The building and maintenance warrant article is recommended at $200,000, which is $50,000 over the previous year, and that's a 33.33% increase. In the grand scheme of things, you know, it sounds like a big number, but it's not. The debt service is down 3.94%. The total budget increase is projected at 3.32%. Many of the employee expenses have seen reductions. Dental and disability insurance is down, unemployment is down, and health insurance is down for the first time in many years. Once again, the New Hampshire retirement system is up significantly, $433,805, or 12.84% increase. And I have said many times, the state continues to renege on its promise to pay for its share of the retirement costs and has shifted the responsibility to local taxpayers. And at this point, we're going to leave this slide up. And I want to go over some numbers that I have from the SAU office. In fiscal year 2010-2011, it was the final year that the state paid 25% of the teacher contribution to the New Hampshire retirement plan. Prior to that year, it was 35%. After 2010-2011, the state legislature decided to pay zero toward the New Hampshire retirement plan. So the first year that they did not contribute, the out-of-pocket for the local taxpayers was $347,539.25, above and beyond what they would have paid. Second year was $414,526. Third year, 2013-2014, $527,107. This is out of your pocket, remember. The next year, 2014-2015, $544,860. The next year, $598,281. 2016-2017, $603,657. 2017-2018, $698,820. This current budget that we're working in right now, $734,981, and the proposed budget that's being put forward is $784,770. That's what the state of New Hampshire is asking you to pay, because they've reneged on their promise to pay for the teacher's portion, 35% of the teacher's portion of the retirement plan.
So if you have a problem with some of the budget numbers, please talk to your state representatives. They're the ones that have made the decision that the state is no longer going to fund this portion of a promise that they made many, many years ago. The other portion of the New Hampshire Retirement Fund, the fund was started back in 1971. And at that time, the teachers were paying, I believe, 5% into the retirement plan. And the employer rates for teachers were 3.1%. That's what we would pay toward the retirement plan. And the state was paying for their portion of the teachers. The employer rate varied tremendously over the years, and mostly because of the ineffective management of the retirement system in the early days. The actuaries took no responsibility for projecting the unfunded liability going forward. So the retirement system was in terrible shape. That did change. New management, new oversight, new actuarial tables and all that to help decide what the unfunded liability really was. But because of that, the rate that the teachers paid was increased from 5% to 7%. And the district's rate for the teachers has gone in 2011, 2012. The school district was paying 11.3% for the teachers' retirement portion. That went up in 2013, 2014 to 14.16%. It then went up in 15-16 to 15.67%. And in 17 to 18, 17.36%. So we're paying 17.36% this year. Next year, it goes up, the increases are 2-year cycles. Next year, it goes up to 17.8%. And again, most of that is because the state legislature has said, we're going to just thumb your nose at you. We don't care. We're not going to pay for the New Hampshire retirement system anymore. I think it's terrible when we get into a budget crunch. We're trying to control the expense to taxpayers, that the state legislature can make a decision like that and just expect the local taxpayers to take it on the chin. So. I could go on and on, but I won't. I have a lot more to cover. So. Getting back to the budget, after several years of reducing staff, we have included some part-time positions in the budget. Included this year are a 50% construction trades teacher, a 50%, yeah, I agree, we need it. A 50% LNA position formerly covered by the Perkins grant, state money, federal money going away, so we need to fund that position, which is critical. A 50% special education position for New Durham School, and a 30% increase in special education position for Tuftonboro Central School. Special education positions are needed in order for the schools to meet the requirements of the IEPs mandated by federal law. The construction trades position will train and prepare students to enter the construction trades field after graduation, where we know there are good jobs waiting for them. And likewise, the LNA position is required in order for our technology center to graduate students who are LNA certified. Part-time outreach counselors for Effingham and Ossipee, Effingham 20%, Ossipee 60%, were requested due to the effect of the opioid crisis on children and families. These positions are very much needed. However, at this time, it is recommended that these positions be funded by pursuing a grant that may be available for this purpose in order to keep the budget down. Okay, looking at the general fund budget, looking at some of the areas, health services shows an increase. This is due to 2 factors. The cost of our employee agreement with Huggins Hospital for nursing services increased.
and a nursing position that was formerly included in wages is now included in the Huggins agreement. Even with the increase in this, it is still more cost effective for the district to employ our nurses through the hospital. Several expensive objects have decreased. Water and sewer, printing, and postage, for example. Snow removal, property and liability insurance, and service agreements are all more expensive now, and the increase is reflected in what you see here. Throughout the general budget, there are reductions which offset some of the increases. New equipment and replacement of equipment are the most significant increases. This is in large part due to the need to keep our equipment up to date. 10 years ago, during the recession, we were fortunate to receive ARRA funds in the form of a grant from the federal government. This gave the district the opportunity to purchase smart boards and computers for our students. It is time to replace and add to this equipment. The schools have used equipment past the intended lifespan, and we are all well beyond the point where we should be replacing and adding to our technology. Updating our infrastructure, particularly servers, is critically needed. The world has become more and more driven by technology. What used to be a luxury in this area is now essential. You will also notice decreases in testing material, bottled gas, books, and print media, and dues and fees. In the past few years, we have retired the Ossipee, Effingham, and New Durham bonds. We were also able to renegotiate our debt with the Municipal Bond Bank for the Kingswood Complex building project, resulting in a reduction of approximately $41,000 each year until the bond is paid off. Spending can be viewed from 8 functional categories: instruction, support, central administration, school administration, the physical plant, transportation, debt, and miscellaneous or other expense areas. Instruction includes regular education, special education, vocational education, and all co-curricular programs. Support areas pertaining to both student and staff. Guidance, health, media services, and professional development are included in this expense area. Central administration includes the school board, superintendent's office, and the business office. School administration refers to the level of management and supervision. Plant, transportation, and debt are self-explanatory. The category Other encompasses adult education, community service, charter school expenses, and other food service paid by local taxpayers. Governor Wentworth allocates a slightly greater portion of its budget for instruction than its counterparts throughout the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire schools allocate 62.6% of their budget for instruction, while Governor Wentworth allocates 62.9%, a variance of 0.3%. We allocate a greater portion of our budget for school administration. On the other hand, we allocate less of our budget on support. The GWRSD transportation allocation is only slightly higher than what the state allocates, which is an accomplishment for the district, given that Governor Wentworth School District and Plymouth are the 2 geographically largest districts in the state. The portion allocated to Governor Wentworth School District and for school facilities planned across the state is exactly the same. The debt in Governor Wentworth is a higher allocation than that is allocated across the state, and this comes as no surprise since we have the debt for the renovation of the Kingswood complex. Our central administration allocation is more than 2.5 times lower than that which is directed to central administration in other districts. This year, we are pleased to see some increases in our revenue. The more revenue we generate, the more taxes are offset. Our building aid decreases as we pay down the bond, so we see less revenue there. The increase in projected revenue we see in the state grant, special education, formerly known as catastrophic aid, Medicaid, vocational programs, and tuition is good news for taxpayers. The tuition increase is significant and can be attributed to the agreement we have with Middleton that adjusts the tuition annually based on the increase in our general fund. There are 5 broad areas of expenses within the general fund. The first is personnel. As we are a people-driven business, so it probably doesn't come as a surprise that over 78% of our expenses are employee-related. We have discussed our efforts to controlling these costs by changing health insurance plans and increasing the amount our employees pay toward the premium. The next largest area in the budget contains the expenses that are required by law or circumstance. These are items which we have little or no control. The expenses include areas such as water and sewer, snow removal, telephones, service agreements, and rubbish collection. This area claims 8.3% of our budget. The legal obligation category in the district is the district debt, which is 6.9% of the budget. And of course, we're required to pay that. Fourth in line with regard to this portion of the budget is the variable category. This is the portion of the budget over which we have the most control. It also has the greatest impact on programs. We can cut dollars for technology equipment and technology services, supplies, or books, but this has a direct impact on instruction. Likewise, we can cut the athletics, but the result will be fewer games or sports teams, again directly impacting students. Finally, there is the pay now or pay later items. These are the routine maintenance items, for example, keeping our mechanical equipment in good shape or repairing minor maintenance problems in our schools before they become major. Other examples include bus preventative maintenance or repairs and maintaining our grounds around our school buildings, including playground equipment to prevent accidents. If we don't attend to these routinely, we will face more costly repairs in the long term. Prior agreements, collective bargaining agreements, legal requirements, and costs directed by circumstances claim 94.4% of the budget, leaving approximately 5.6% with which we have some discretion. To understand how the money from each community is raised, it is important to understand the cooperative formula. And let me tell you, the cooperative formula has worked very, very well for the last 55 years, and we'll go through that in a few minutes. $54,678,573 is the amount of the gross budget. $7,607,601 is subtracted in estimated revenues, or resulting in a $47,070,962, which is the amount to be raised through taxation. This amount is distributed in accordance with the cooperative formula. Of that amount, 75% is allocated based on each town's portion of the average daily membership, which is based on the number of students attending from each town. And 25% is based on each town's relative portion of the district's equalized valuation, property values in each town. Each town's allocation is calculated. You can see the result of the calculation in the cooperative apportionment column. Because all towns are required to pay a state education tax, both the state education tax, labeled as warrant, kindergarten aid, labeled as Keno, and stabilization money, labeled as grant, are credits used to offset the town's share of its apportionment obligation. Thus, the $47,070,972 is paid as follows. $3,699,692 in state adequacy aid, $189,023 in Keno aid, $9,595,601 in state education tax, and $33,586,658 in local education tax. This summer, at a meeting we held for selectmen, we heard concerns from Ossipee about an increase in the tax rate, and there was some discussion indicating the school district's budget increase was the sole reason for the increase. While the budget certainly does affect the tax rate this year, there were other factors that significantly affected the increase in Ossipee. Ossipee's equalized property value increased, and while higher property values are generally good for communities and taxpayers, higher equalized value increases the percent of the total equalized value contribution. Remember, the higher property values, the greater the contribution to the total assessment. Also affecting Ossipee was a significant increase in the number of students. The average daily membership, or ADM, increased from 556 students to 580. With 75% of the formula based on ADM, this has the most significant impact on the increase. And last but not least, the amount of stabilization money Ossipee has received from the state. The stabilization money was promised to lessen the burden of taxes on the less property wealthy towns. Since its inception, Ossipee has received the largest amount of stabilization money in the district and stands to be affected the most over time by the reduction that the state has authorized. Effingham receives the next largest amount of stabilization, followed by New Durham and Brookfield. Ossipee received $39,253 fewer dollars in stabilization last money. And I'm going to stay on stabilization for just a second. Okay, this is another promise that the state has made. The state has been paying stabilization money to help the less fortunate communities in these districts by providing additional support. The state legislature has signed a bill that they will be reducing the amount of stabilization grant by 4% per year for the next 25 years until it's gone. And again, they're saying, we're not paying it anymore, the local taxpayers can support their own system. And again, I think we have to talk to our state legislators if we're going to correct some of these things. Every time the state makes a decision like that, it's coming out of your pocket. Please remember that. Now, fortunately for the towns with less property values, the cooperative formula provides some relief. With 25% of the formula being based on equalized value, the towns with less property wealth pay less per student. On the screen, you can see the tuition for 2018-2019 for each town, which is where we're in now. And this is a significant slide. The formula has been in place since 1964, when the district was first opened. Back in those days, the people that formed this district, and I wasn't around at that point in time, had the belief that those towns that are part of the district, and at that time, Wolfeboro, Wolfeboro were all part of the district, had the property values to help support the less property wealthy towns that are joining this district. So they came up with this formula of 75-25, which supported, right from day one, helped support the towns of Effingham and Ossipee and New Durham at that time. So the formula has worked very, very well for 55 years. If you look at the chart, you would think that maybe the town of Tuftonboro or the town of Wolfeboro would be complaining about paying so much per student. After all, it costs the same amount for us to educate a student in Ossipee or a student in Wolfeboro. But this is a fairness issue, and this fairness issue was decided 55 years ago when this district was put together, that the towns with higher property values should pay to help subsidize those that don't have it. And this is a benefit for all of our students. So the formula has worked. There's no reason to change the formula. I'm from Tuftonboro.
And in all honesty, we're happy to support the school district. It makes sense to help where we have to help and to support the efforts across the entire district. We are a cooperative school district, not one town against the other. The impact on the budget each town's rate can be seen on the table currently shown on the screen. The equalized value has been updated so that these rates vary from the initial projections. These rates are not affected just by the school district budget, but also the property values and how many students from each town are in the district, and how much stabilization money is distributed or taken away from the state. In order to compare tax rates across the state, the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration equalizes tax rates. This is a process by which property values are adjusted to eliminate the distortion in tax rates that is created when a community either under or overvalues its property. Department of Revenue Administration generates a publication that contains the equalized value of New Hampshire communities broken out by school, county, and municipal rates. While they identified 259 rates, only 235 pertain to towns and cities. The others are mostly land grant locations. The low numbers represent the highest tax rate, with number 1 being the highest. And the higher numbers represent the lowest tax rate, with the lowest being 234. The most recent data available is for tax year 2018. The chart on the right shows the school and tax rates for Governor Wentworth towns, as well as where the school ranks in comparison to other New Hampshire schools, and the town rank in comparison to other New Hampshire towns. The chart on the left provides a visual representation of the equalized tax rate rankings. On the school side, Charlestown has the highest school tax rate, while Hebron has the lowest. On the town side, Claremont has the highest tax rate of $15.27. Looking at our district and on the school side of the rankings, we're in the lowest 2 tax quadrants, with Tuftonboro and Wolfeboro being in the lowest quadrant, and New Durham, Brookfield, Ossipee, and Effingham ranking in the next lowest quadrant. On the town side, we have Tuftonboro in the lowest quadrant, with the same ranking as the school district in 216. New Durham is the next lowest ranking at 127, only 2 places higher than the school district. The default budget. The official RSA 40:13, the official ballot law, also known as SB2, determines what is to be included in part of the default budget. A default budget contains the appropriations in the operating budget authorized for the previous year, reduced and or increased by obligations mandated by law or previously incurred, such as debt service and contracts previously approved in the specific amount. One-time expenditures are not included in a default budget. The purpose of presenting a default budget is to give the voters an understanding of what the budget would look like should the proposed operating budget be voted down. However, in the last legislative session, House Bill 1307 added a new paragraph to the law which drastically changed what can be part of the default budget. The amendment specifically states that the term contracts means previously approved contracts in the amount so approved by the legislative body, either in the operating budget authorized for the previous year or in a special warrant article, or for a previous year. For Governor Wentworth, this means that increases in agreements the district has, we have renewed for year to year cannot be included in this year's default budget. These contracts include snow plowing, pest control services, nursing services from Huggins, night security,
JL Carpenter sprinklers, internet services, oil, gas, propane, school, and school dude, I don't know much what that is, which what we use to schedule our heating temperatures to be energy efficient. Obviously, we cannot run our schools without these services, and we'll be short the rate increases for all of these items. This is why we were seeing such a large difference between the default and the proposed budget. The budget is $54,042,248, and the default budget $52,754,500. The variance between the default budget and the proposed budget now stands at $1,287,748. The default budget falls over $1 million short of the recommended budget. As I have said, we need security services, pest control, the internet, fuel, snow plowing, etc. There is nothing in this list that we cannot do without. If the school district's proposed budget fails, the default budget becomes the school district budget. A default budget would have some devastating consequences for our students. The school board would have to look at all available options for reducing costs. This would include looking at eliminating some educational programs, extracurricular programs, athletic programs, transportation, even personnel. Any of these changes would have a direct impact on our students by reducing the opportunities and services we provide for them. I urge you to support the school district's budget and vote yes on Article 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions, comments regarding the budget, Article 10? Mr. Smith.
My question references the revenue that we charge per student for Milton. What's that number?
It's about $12,588 right now, and again, that's the tuition agreement that we have. That will decrease based on the increase in our general fund, and we're also responsible for their own transportation and any special education needs beyond our normal school day.
Okay, so I follow up with that. Regarding the adequacy grants that each town gets, how does that work for them, being that they came into our district? In other words, Ospey gets so much, it's on the breakdown.
The adequacy grants just go to their school district.
And then they in turn pay us the $12,800. I just want to reference the slide you put up, per pupil cost, going back a few. That it is true that the formula causes Tufton Borough and Wolfeboro to pay more, the 75-25 formula. However, the numbers you put up there, those numbers include the adequacy grants. Those are not the true numbers. The adequacy grants are set by the state. That's the money that comes back. That formula has nothing to do with those numbers. So if you remove the adequacy grant amount and you just break it down by each town individually in comparison, Tufton Borough, Wolfeboro, one's 25,000, one's 22. The other four towns average about 18,000 apiece. They're not as low as those numbers reflect.
So I guess my question to you would be: so do you want the state to take the adequacy grants away again?
No, I'm just pointing to the fact that the amounts reflected on that slide are not correct. That's all.
They're correct, but the taxpayers are actually paying.
I understand that, but that you pointed out that was the formula driving that. The formula doesn't drive that slide. The formula is separate from that slide. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Wilowitz from New Durham. I was looking at the budget figures that you have provided in the handout, and I appreciate that. I'm looking at the green sheet. I was doing a quick comparison of what you've actually expended in 2018 and what you're proposing for 2020. And there's a couple of line items where I see that this expense, the actual, is quite significantly lower than what was budgeted. But yet in 2020, you're asking for quite a bit more money. The line items that I'm looking at in particular is line item 320, professional services. You spent $439,100. However, you're asking for $630,721. I know part of that explanation you had said was the nursing that was contributing that. Also, line item 519, contracted transportation. You spent $6,368. However, you're asking for $144,000. The other two are line item 623.
Let's go. Let's Jack. She's got the floor. Okay, please.
I was just going to reference the other numbers instead of going through so that you could look at them. The other one is line item 623, 624, and 640, please.
Okay. Jack, would you like to address those?
Okay, first of all, on the contracted services, that was all related to special education transportation, and that varies from year to year, so we may have budgeted an amount, and even if you look at line item number 561, which is tuition, we budgeted $1,439,000 for this current year. The year before we only spent $886. That is all special education related. So to reduce that budget and then have some catastrophic special education system, circumstance happen, we don't think that's a very prudent thing. If we don't spend that money, it's part of that undesignated reserve balance at the end of the year, which goes back to reducing taxes. So any of those items that we have not overspent comes back to the taxpayers as a reduction in the prior year's budget request. Now, and bottled gas, we'll let our business administrator do that.
Hi there. Is this?
There's a button on that, Kathy.
There you go.
Good afternoon. That was just a one-time anomaly. Last year, one of our schools who heats with propane, their tanks froze and was no longer able to expend the bottled gas. So that is the reason for that decreased expenditure in 2018. The situation has been rectified and they will be using all of that gas this year and next year.
Yeah. There was another question on heating oil, I think 624.
624, the heating oil rate did go up a little bit. Again, we're trying to be somewhat conservative. We didn't spend all of it from the prior year. We went from 140 down to 81. With the change in rates, we thought it prudent to at least budget what we thought would be based on the rate at the time we were putting the budget together. Again, if we don't expend all of that money, and that's a flat, we're not asking for any additional money this year on what was budgeted from the prior year. So we flatline that budget item. But again, if it's not expended, it comes back to the taxpayers in the form of a credit on taxes next year. And books and media. I don't know if I can answer that. Well, she's asking, I think, from 192 to, we only spent 192, we did 80. Yeah. I guess the books are based on staff requests. We are looking at less of a budget item than the prior year. But again, if we don't expend it, it'll come back as a credit to taxes at the end of the year.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just actually more of a recommendation on presentation where you guys have the Grand Comeau and warrant, putting a box on the sheet for those of us that are new to the area, explaining just a little key so that we know what those are. For example, one of them should be the state as far as I looked at. This is it's the white page. It's the last page. So that was
Everyone understand that question?
No.
That makes me too. I wasn't clear on the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was able to understand some of the numbers based off of what that funds are named of in the state adequacy grants, impact and more.
So Carlos, you're just asking for just something that's a little bit more readable to explain those particular grants from the state?
Correct.
Okay. We can do that. That's easy.
Thank you. Diane?
So I have a simple question, and then maybe a not so simple comment or request. Looking at, I don't know what this is called, the budget, the blue budget that was in the packet, and I have seen this on all of the budgets that I've looked at for the school district, and I still don't know what they mean. There is a federal fund and a food service fund. Could you please explain what those are? They're expenditures, not revenues.
Kathy?
So you said you're looking at the blue sheet, correct?
Yes.
And you're looking at the actual column?
Well, it doesn't matter what, I'm not debating the amount, I have no idea what these expenses are.
Sure. The federal funds are all the grants we receive, so whether they be Title I, Title IIA, IDEA grant, Perkins grant, so those are all the federal funds. And then the food service fund, or the food service, I don't want to say grants, but federal funds we receive for...
No, this is the expenditures.
Yes, and I am there. You said the blue sheet down the bottom, correct?
Correct.
Yes, that's what I'm explaining. We have to raise and appropriate. So we have to raise and appropriate expenditures, and we have to show the revenues. So they're equal expenditures to the equal revenues, because that is how you budget for federal funds.
What are the expenditures for the federal funds?
Title I, Title IIA, these are all grants, IDEA grant, Perkins grant. Those are all programs
that are not incorporated into, so there's no detail associated with the expenses under federal fund, like there is detail noted above in all of those different functional categories.
There's no detail on here, but I guess I'm not understanding.
Okay, never mind. Let me move on. There was in the slide presentation regarding the cost distribution. Table that is part of the packet. My concern about this is, and it's great that you've produced the proposed cost distribution, which is presumably what's behind the numbers that were articulated previously for the tax rates that can be expected through the proposed 2020 budget. However, I'm looking at, in comparison to the actual numbers from your most recently developed actual 2019 cost distribution formula, there's some incompatibilities. The easiest one to note is in the 2019 assessment. In the actual document that I had received from you folks, the actual assessment for 2019 was $41,957,727. That's not significantly different. I apologize. But they are slightly different. The other concern that I have is the projected 2020 tax rates are in your document are based on the assessed valuations that were used in the 2019 set of calculations. And in the past, I was told that an assumption was made in a projected document for what those valuation increases might be. And I think that makes a difference in the calculation of the tax rate that you've put on here. So if you add, I don't know, 3-4% to the the assessed valuation on that next to the last block from the bottom on the left, then that's going to change the estimated tax rates. And the reason I think that's important, and I know it's all projected, but you're not the only one that's developing a budget and going to the voters looking for money on March 12th. The local communities are as well. And I think that they, now that you've produced this document, would be better served to have a better estimate of what the tax implications are. The actual dollars are probably more important, but a lot of folks just look at the tax rate and add up the tax rates that will be applied. We just need to be working off the same base. And I think that it would be appropriate that you could, if you could redraft this and use the most recent numbers for 2019 that you produced, and also make an assessment and an adjustment in the projected assessed values. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Gregory Anthony's New Durham. Jack, did you say that the New Durham school bond has been retired?
Yes.
Now, will this reduce the New Durham school tax rate?
No. Anytime we do a bond, the expense of that bond is part of the whole formula. So as the bond, every town paid for New Durham's addition, as every town is paying for the Kingswood complex. So as these bonds are retired, every town within the district benefits from the fact that they're retired.
Thanks, Jack.
Ken?
Ken Perry from Wolfeboro. I think the lady was asking what things like ESDA, Title I mean. Is that some of the explanation? Supporting disadvantaged students and so on. So I think that's what she was asking. But it opens up a bigger question. Could you speak to how much federal aid we get for our federally mandated special education programs?
Sure. Well, certainly from a percentage standpoint, and the federal government was smart when they did this back in the 70s. They, again, mandated all these special education programs, and they said they paid 40%. Well, if you look at the actual document, they did somehow slip in the word "up to." So even though everyone was counting on the federal government stepping up and paying the 40% of the cost of all of these programs that are mandated, I think our highest rate has been somewhere between 17 and 18%. So we're paying 21% of that higher than 22% higher than we anticipated, because the federal government again put a little bit of wording in there that they says, they really don't have to pay it. So that's a big number.
Any further questions? Comments? All right. Mr. Beckford.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You brought up the state government quite a number of times, and I understand your concern. 1997 was the Claremont II decision, and the state was told that they needed to fund education adequately. Now, my estimation is they've never really come close to that. Now, that money comes from the property taxpayers. In that case, it's 100%, what you call property tax, that's APM. If you want more money from the state, you need to soften up the Business and Industry Association. When that decision first came out, they stepped right up and like said, hey, we'll put our tax rate at 8%, I think it was, and everybody thought that was just great. But in the meantime, you're seeing lobbying going on to move these other things out. And so you got to ask yourselves, or talk to them about moving that tax up, because that's where it would have to come from to not affect the property taxpayers. Okay?
Thank you, David. We could certainly get into a debate about how the state manages our money. When the lottery was first put into existence and voted in, 100% of the lottery money was supposed to go to education. I can tell you that that's not the case right at this point. There's a tremendous amount of that money that goes into the general fund. Some of it does go to education, but 100% of the lottery, when it was first passed, was supposed to go to education. So that's one piece of the pie that didn't happen. And when you're talking about the Claremont decision, and again, I don't know all of the facts, but I know quite a few of them. Back in the olden days, there was a formula that was out there called the Augenblick formula.
Right.
And the Augenblick formula was supposed to support the less fortunate communities across the state with state aid for education. The Augenblick formula, the last year that was funded, before the whole Claremont thing came up, I believe the Augenblick formula was supposed to be funded at approximately $125 million. The state legislature decided that they'd only put in $40,000. Now, Claremont did get a good portion of that $40 million rather. So Claremont got their portion, their proportionate rate of the $40 million that the state allocated. But if the state had fully funded that at $125 million, which was their responsibility at the time, and put all that money into education, the Claremont suit probably never would have happened. So there's a big debate about how this all came about. The fact that we send money to the state, and the state says, okay, we're going to send it back to you for the state education tax, is just a paper game. It's moving money from one bucket to another and putting it right back in the same bucket it came from. So the state is meeting their responsibility that way. But if they had met their responsibility in years past, we never would have been into this position to start with. So I understand what you're saying. Maybe the state needs more money, and then maybe there's a way of getting that money into the conference. But if the state says 100% of the funds are going to pay for education, then it should pay for education and not be diverted to the general fund. And I think it's just like the Keno money. All the Keno money that is going to go to education, hopefully it will when it finally gets to the point where the state thinks it will. But the money being distributed from Keno is nowhere near the estimates that the state put forward when they approved that program. So there's a lot of things happening. I'm not just saying all the state legislators. We got some great people in Concord doing some great work, but they're the ones making the decisions as a group that are taking money out of the local taxpayers, and that really has to stop at some point.
I'm just saying you need to be straightforward and say we want a higher tax on business.
That may be one part
of businesses.
That may be one part of the solution.
To remove it from the property taxpayers. And I always remember everything, with the legislature, they change every 2 years. So everything's temporary. Can't really count on anything.
I wish that was true, because I'd love the legislature to give us our 35% back.
Are there any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
This is just one other commentary, I guess, of question I had, my wife and I discussed. Is there going to be any economic evaluation between growth in the Lakes region and economic drivers versus the growth down around Concord and Manchester, and those things that impact on school funds and how those are actually impacting what the districts are able to actually both bring in and expend?
Yeah. Every school district is so different. It's very difficult to quantify, different areas. I will say that, and I don't want to be too negative about the state of New Hampshire, but I've lived here for 46 years, and we have there's two states. There's Concord North and Concord South. And that certainly, to me, drives a lot of the decisions that are made in Concord, and a lot of those may be detrimental to Concord North. We do the best we can to try to make things happen.
That's fair. The other question I had actually was related to a question from the prior article, but I think it applies here in budgetary. And I got a shot for this later. I know this one will be prior to behind the scenes. The turf field maintenance. There was a question about the cost that it takes per year to keep. Has there been any look as far as how that also currently affects the current maintenance budget, and whether or not that warrant should include that maintenance year on as well?
The warrant article, the $60,000 replacement, is specific when the warrant, when that capital reserve fund was set up. It was specific for replacement of the field, so we can't use any of those funds to the annual maintenance. So that's why that's done that way.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to restrict reconsideration of Articles 8, 9, and 10. So moved. Is there a second? All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Articles 8, 9, and 10, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we will not consider any articles, including 10 and earlier. So we move on to Article 11. To see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to create a budget committee per RSA 195-12A, wherein said committee would have the same number of members as the school board, plus one member from the school board, for which the terms of office and the manner of election of members after the first year should be the same as for the school board. The district moderator shall appoint the initial members within 15 days of the election, except for the member appointed by the school board, and said member's terms shall expire at the next annual meeting. This has been submitted by petition. I'll therefore recognize someone from the audience first to speak to that. That'll be Diane Smith. They also have got a proposed amendment to this article that we'll discuss at some point. We're not going to start off with the amendment. So, Diane, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have lived in Brookfield since 2001 and paying taxes all that time, and I'll cut to the chase. The school district comprises anywhere from 59 to 69% of Brookfield's tax bill over the course of the last 10 years. And the fact that Brookfield is the smallest community in the district makes our voice pretty small. Then, in spending more and more time dealing with local budgets and the impact of the school district budget on Brookfield, it became clear that there were some. Not only was the cost continuing or seeming to continue to go up, at least in the more recent years, but that the variability continued. Now, I realize that some of that variability is related to the cost distribution formula, but nonetheless, over time, over the last 10 years, the school district's budget has increased from school fiscal year 2010 to the current fiscal year, almost $9.5 million. And I understand during that time debt service for all the school improvements took place. But that was a 29% increase. I think that, and I've been to several of the, not a lot, but several of the school board meetings. And I appreciate the fact that the school board seems very dedicated to supporting, enhancing, making the school district the best that it can be. I support that as well. I just am not certain that we need to spend the amount of money that we're spending to achieve that result. Hence my wish, and I initiated a petition for the budget committee, because with that focus from the overall school board, the responsibilities for the school board are quite large for the school district. The budget part of it is a small part, and I think that the responsibility for the budget might best be shifted to another set of eyes looking at that, developing the budget. And my understanding is that from the RSAs that the school board would continue to develop the default budget were this article to pass. I would ask that folks think about this and endorse this at ballot box on March 12th. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Article 11? Yes, ma'am.
Charlene Ossipee. One of the reasons that you vote for your school board members is for them to represent your town. A major part of this district is mandated. We don't always get to make the choices of what we want. And I would totally discourage this because these are your voices, and I would not even consider to suggest that the budget was a small part of what they do. And I can only guess that you don't have kids in the school district or you don't have a teacher in the school district. I'm married to a teacher. I know what goes on here. I know people that have been on the school board. I was married to a school board member, and I think this is misdirected, and I think that it's a huge mistake to bring in another budget committee to watch the budget that we voted for people to take care of. I strongly, strongly resent this, and I suggest that you all vote against it.
Jan Brooks from Wolfeboro, and I put my thoughts in writing. You don't mind if I read them? I am Jan Brooks, and I'm speaking to gain clarification and understanding of the two articles submitted by petition for this year's Governor Wentworth Regional School District annual warrant, so that I can be an informed voter. I know everyone in this auditorium today would be glad to see lower taxes. However, the system in which education is funded presents a challenge, relying on taxes, which is always a bone of contention and apt to cause controversy. Furthermore, it is a time when the demands on our local schools are increasing, while the state of New Hampshire has persistently and significantly cut funding for education. While our governor appears to be cutting taxes at the state level, he's placing them upon local taxpayers. As Jack Widmer has emphasized over and over again, this shift will impact our district by an increased cost to this budget because of the cuts to the stabilization grants, and the state will no longer contribute to the public pension fund. It goes without saying that this is a lot to absorb in the budget while keeping the local increase to a minimum. However, we need to work together to ensure we continue to provide our children with a quality education while ensuring we do such in a fiscally responsible manner. Over the years, I've attested to the excitement and desire little ones have for becoming members of our literate society with a craving to learn. I've noticed students and parents who value the enormous range of attributes our district offers, and heard from students graduating from Kingswood and being accepted to many wonderful colleges, technical schools, or mentoring opportunities. I've shared many conversations with young adults who began their career away from our communities, only to return with a desire to give back to the area in which they grew up. And I've asked families who've moved to our communities, why have they made such a move? And the schools have been the primary reason. Key to the success of schools and students is the staff's ability to deliver the curriculum and engage students in the learning process, because it is the staff that begins the budget process in our schools. They know the children. They know the instructional practices and resources that are appropriate and will assist each child's learning. Using their expertise, staff is expected to justify each expenditure and submit it to their building administrator, who in turn reviews the requests, gains an understanding of the justifications, and meets with staff for clarification before constructing her or his school budget. Such stems from the needs of their students and the staff and the need to maintain the building facility. Once established, the administrator submits her or his budget to the district business administrator for review before meeting with the aforementioned superintendent and assistant superintendent of schools, and often the director of instruction or special education. Justifications, clarifications, and explanations direct the budget meeting at this level, with a clear directive given of the reductions that need to be made. Fiscal responsibility towards the towns in our district has always been an important priority. Revised budgets are resubmitted to the SAU administrators, who in turn share it with the budget committee of the school board. Dates are established and meetings with administrators and the school board take place, so everyone understands what's being proposed. The budget committee spends an incredible amount of time reviewing and understanding the budget, so they may present it to the full school board and independently with members of our communities during a deliberative session and through forums within each town. Members of our school board and SAU administration are devoted to our students and communities and work hard to be informed of the educational system that stands far beyond the annual budget. Board meetings are held monthly and occur in the different buildings. Here they receive a presentation from students and staff, gaining a better understanding of the curriculum, instruction, programs, and enrichment opportunities. They learn what is happening at each school and across the district. Finally, each school board member represents their towns and schools as they work on various committees. In summary, they come from a foundation of understanding, constructing the budget based on such, and working hard to limit cost increases. The expectations and challenges that our schools face today are vastly different from the schools we attended due to the demands and diverse needs that have become significantly greater. Everyone in this room knows the changes within our society and can imagine how they impact the children attending our schools. I truly believe our staff, administrators, and school board engage in an incredibly thorough process and present a budget that stems from the strengths and needs of the students and will be fiscally responsible to the constituents in our communities. So, first I ask for clarification so I may understand how the budget process can be improved by creating a committee commensurate with the current number of school board members, with the question of how will they gain background knowledge of our schools, the programs, and the strengths and needs of our students, and the way our current board does. Second, I ask for clarification so that I may understand how the current school board members who are voted in and represent all communities within the district would differ from those on the committee to be created. Why would there need to be duplication when such already exists within the current board? Third, I ask for clarification so I may understand how the cap on the budget was determined and how it will impact our ability to meet the strengths and needs of our students. Finally, I ask for clarification so I may understand how these petitions will impact the budget in a realistic and supportive manner so our students will continue to receive the quality education they have as K-12 students within the Government Wentworth Regional School District. Our district budget and the current process for creating and delivering the information to our communities have supported the children and families within the GWRSD over the many years that I have lived in our community. It is a fine-tuned model for others and has our students at the forefront of the decision-making process. I am proud to be a member of our community and to have had our child educated within the GWRSD. I ask that clarification for the purpose of these petitions so that others may be able to make an informed decision as to what is in place and what truly needs to be revised. Thank you.
Any other comments? Jack?
This is not the first time a warrant article has been included of this nature, and it was soundly defeated the last time. It was in 2010, and it was defeated 2293 to 1,691 votes. The school board is elected by the people to operate the schools. Taxpayers already have their chosen representatives in place. Because of their involvement with the programs, they are in the best position to make judgments about what reasonable needs are. A budget committee, just another layer of government, is not in position to make judgments about the legal needs and appropriate programs for children. They do not have enough involvement to make informed decisions. The school board holds several meetings where the budget is discussed and questions and input are welcome. Meetings where budget is specifically discussed starts in the fall with 3 finance committee meetings, during which administration meets with the finance committee to discuss their recommendations, followed by the preliminary budget hearing, budget adoption hearing, and the deliberative session. All school board members, including these meetings, are open to the public. Thus, any citizen can express their opinion in the budget development process. A budget committee provides a layer between the school board and the construction of the budget, giving individual community members less of a voice. The GWRSD is an SB2 district where everyone has a vote on the budget, plus an open meeting to make changes prior to the actual vote. A budget committee can have the impact of lessening the value of the individual vote by taking away the opportunity to vote on certain items removed or altered by a budget committee. In other words, every citizen has a vote through their vote, and the voice need not be filtered by a layer of government bureaucracy. Budget committees have not provided any significant level of cost control. A number of towns in the GWRSD have budget committees, yet at a look at 2018 data from the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration shows that the towns in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District allocate a higher percentage of their tax rate to town government rather than schools. By comparison, the school board is doing a very good job of building a responsible budget without a budget committee, and the school board urges a no vote on this article.
Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Labrick. I live in Wolfeboro. I will tell you, I have worked in a school district that created a budget committee, and indeed, it didn't change the budgets any. The budget stayed the same. What did change was how the budget process worked, and as a result, teachers were required to budget 2 years in advance because it takes that long for the budget committee to create a budget, the budget committee within the school board to create a budget, the school board to approve it, it go to the district-wide budget committee, it be reviewed by them, which then meant that you had to go and justify again expenditures in order to educate the district budget committee. So a school teacher would walk in September, a 4th grade teacher, which I was, and look at the 2nd grade that would be coming in 2 years and attempt to budget for those children. It reduces flexibility, it creates an extra layer of administration that is not necessary, and it changed almost nothing except creating another committee for people to work on. Thank you.
All right, I do have a proposed amendment to this article, which you do not have in front of you, so I'll read it. And I'll read it a second time as well. The amendment would change Article 11 to read as follows. To see if the Government-Wentworth Regional School District will vote to create a budget committee, wherein said committee would serve in an advisory-only capacity to the Government-Wentworth Regional School Board, and have 5 members plus 1 member from the school board. The school board will appoint the initial members within 30 days of the election, including the member from the school board, and the advisory committee members' terms will expire at the next annual meeting, at which point the school board may reappoint. So that's the proposed amendment. Is there a second out there? Second. All right, so we have a second, so we at least can discuss it. So my quick read is it tries to make 3 changes, makes it advisory only, reduces the number of members down to 6 plus 1, and it changes the way that would be appointed. So let me just read it one more time. To see if the Government-Wentworth Regional School District will vote to create a budget committee, wherein said committee would serve in an advisory-only capacity to the Government-Wentworth Regional School Board, and have 5 members plus 1 member from the school board. The school board will appoint the initial members within 30 days of the election, including the member from the school board, and the advisory committee members' terms will expire at the next annual meeting, at which point the school board may reappoint. So is there any discussion just on the amendment? Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Lang again. Again, these meetings are open to everybody, and if you feel that compelled to give your input, then by all means go and sit at the meetings. You don't need a committee for it.
Hello, I'm Carla Lutens from Tufton Borough, and I actually submitted this amendment. And I frankly don't agree that we need a budget committee at all for our, but my concern is that this article, Article 11, will go out and voters that aren't here today may not understand what's going on. To say it's an advisory-only committee is the lesser of 2 evils, and that's why I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Ward Hunt. I served on the school board for a fair amount of time with a lot of the people sitting here this afternoon. I'm also the chairman of the budget committee for the town of Tufton Borough. I would love to say that our towns are as well prepared as the school board are with doing the budget process, but I don't think that's true. I've never been involved in an organization that goes to the depth that the school board does to put this budget together. I'm going to vote for the amended article here, and I'm definitely not vote for it in the polls. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion amendment? Yes, sir.
Just one final question relative to those that are proposing this. With the time that the budgetary committee spends on the school board and the time it takes them who already have a working relationship with the staff to develop a budget, how do those that plan on being this advisory board first, A, plan on building a unified committee, and B, getting up to speed sufficiently that they can make any positive impact on a budgetary decision?
Hi, Tom Loon from Effingham. It's a suburb of Ossipee. I just want to say that the whole thing here is, I've lived in Effingham now for 30 years. Both my kids have been through this school since first grade. There's no better school district than this. Prior to that, I lived in Conway for 12, 13 years. And they started the Conway area taxpayers up there, which was the same idea, come up with a committee to oversee the school board, school district, and everything on the budget. The problem was it tore the fabric of that town apart. The committee could put whatever they wanted in the newspaper with no factual backup. And people would read that and believe that's the way things were. They wanted to cut out band, they wanted to cut out sports. They wanted to do everything to cut the budget. Okay. And all that is now is everybody, if you say you're a teacher in Conway, people won't talk to you. Here you say you're a teacher and they say, thank you for doing a great job. That's it. Thank you.
So any further discussion on the amendment? Mr. Bickford.
Well, it's more procedural. I was wondering why the school board did not make a recommendation, whereas there was a Superior Court decision in 2016 that gives that authority in drafting something.
How about we hold that until after we vote on the
You're a lawyer, usually tell us.
David,
so we're going to hold on that answer because it had nothing to do with what's on the floor. We're trying to get to just the amendment. Any further discussion on whether we should vote in favor or opposed to the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes definitely have it. So now, we have Dave's question. Jack, would you like to answer that?
David, the board in a meeting voted to not support these amendments. These articles. So is that what you were asking? We voted as a board not to support either one of these petition warrant articles.
Dave, if you could come to the microphone just so we could hear you.
It sounds like the public would have liked that.
Well, we received these after our last board meeting to look at. So at our last board meeting, we couldn't discuss and vote on them. But we did discuss at our meeting this morning that we, as a unified body, would vote against these amendments.
Okay, thank you.
These warrant articles.
So is there any further discussion on Article 11 as amended?
Can that fact be reflected on the warrant that we vote on?
Ken, if you could come to the microphone so we could all hear your brilliance.
Just to clarify, does that mean the ballot we vote on in March will say not recommended by the school board?
Yes, it will.
Any further discussion on Article 11? Ernie.
I would just like to comment that this amended article, where people are appointed for 1 year, is a waste of time. And the reason I say that is simply this. I've been on the school board for a few years and I'm still learning things. The process we go through for the budget takes years to fully understand these various programs which a lot of people are asking about, including the federal funding. So it's just a committee of 1 year. It's not going to work. Thank you.
Any further discussion? And seeing none, we will move to Article 12. To see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote for RSA 32(5)B to adopt a tax cap whereby the governing body or budget committee shall not submit a recommended budget that increases the amount to be raised by local taxes based upon the prior fiscal year's actual amount of local taxes raised by more than 2%. It's been submitted by petition. Is there any discussion regarding Article 12? Mr. Smith. while you're walking there, I do have a proposed amendment to this as well. We'll chat about it first. We'll get the amendment.
Okay, Jonathan Smith, Town of Ossipee. I serve on both the Budget Committee and I'm also the Deputy Treasurer. The idea of this amendment, there's no fix or cure-all for budgetary issues. We all know that. We can listen to all the reasons why, and I think everybody understands expenses keep going up. But if you go back to 2009 to 2018, inflation data for that period was 14.8%. That number came from the New Hampshire Employment Security website. That's state data that pertains exactly to New Hampshire. The school district budget increased approximately 30% over that same period, double the rate of inflation. Now, I know there's a whole host of reasons in there, I get it, but this is just the hard data. I'm going to expand into the impact of the school budget as it pertains to each individual town. So Wolfeboro, for example, their amount of money raised by taxes increased by 52% over that same period. This is excluding the state warrant. This is purely the local ed money set by DRA. This is DRA data. Tufton Borough's number was 39% over that same period. And money raised, increased, way exceeding inflation. Effingham was 33%. These numbers are rounded just to keep it simple. Brookfield was 38%. New Durham was 29%. And where I'm from, Ossipee, it was 63%. Ossipee in 2009, we had to appropriate $4.4 million in 2009 in tax dollars. As of the 2018 latest tax rate set in December of 2018, we had to appropriate $7.2 million. Again, that excludes the state warrant amount. I'm going to go back to the top of Wolfeboro because they are the largest. In 2009, they appropriated $8.1 million. In 2018, they had appropriated $12.3 million. So I understand the school district is keeping, they're double the rate of inflation, 15 compared to 30. But the real impact is in the local tax dollars raised, which is the big underlying problem here. How do you address that? I don't know, but you have to start somewhere, and the start is to keep the cap at 2%, since inflation averages 1.5% over the same period. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Smith? Charlene? If you can go to the microphone, that would be helpful.
Good afternoon. I'm Charlene Seigel from Wolfeboro. I've been trying to, as did our wonderful former principal Jan Brooks, I've been trying to understand exactly the purpose for these petition warrant articles. So the question I have for the proponents of Article 12, since that's the one under consideration, is I would like clarification and an explanation of how this 2% proposed cap will enhance our children's education, and how this apparently arbitrary cap is going to affect our students in the long run.
Smith? I just want to add one thing. The cap is not written in stone. It can be overridden by the people at the deliberative session, which is this body here today. What this limits is the budget being put forth by the school board or finance committee and or budget committee being presented to the taxpayer. The people have the ultimate authority to set the budget. And most people don't understand that. The power is in the people. So they can change that 2% if needed at the deliberative session. This is just going to cause the school board or finance committee to look deeper into the budget, more so than now, to try to get a better handle on the overall operating budget. That's what this does.
Follow up?
Sure, follow up. When I see you, they will get to you in a minute.
First of all, I want to apologize if I didn't adequately and clearly express my question. My question specifically is, what benefit will there be to the students in the school district, which is what we're all supposed to be supportive of, at least I certainly am. What benefit to our students will there be by having this article with this tax cap?
The benefit's going to be if the taxes continue to escalate like the numbers I just gave you, of 63% in the town I'm from, nobody's going to live there. You won't have kids going to the school because no one's going to purchase a house in the towns that these taxes are being impacted by. It's unsustainable going forward. If you project this out another 10 years, if OSFI went up 63%, where are they going to be in 10 more years? That's the underlying question here. I think this is not us versus them or you versus me. This is, we're all in this together to try to figure out what's the best way to pay for this going forward. And on the present path, even Wolfeboro, who's a rich town, they have a 52% impact. That affects them too. So it's really the whole, all towns are in this together.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Thank you. Ellen Berry from Wolfeboro. I am opposed to the warrant Article 12 to cap the school tax. The United States is the only country in the world that pays for schools through property tax. The only country in the world that pays for education through property taxes. Instead, the people's energy should be spent to encourage the state government to allot more funds to public education. Capping the tax in the Governor Wentworth School District would limit its ability to hire and retain the most competent staff.
Any further questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Lang again. Again, you have to understand that some of these increases are both state and federally mandated. We don't have a choice. And one of the things that you had mentioned earlier is that we have our town budgets to consider. Yes, indeed we do, but there aren't state and federal mandates for those. We cannot take away those mandates. We don't have an option. So when you're speaking to putting a cap on things, what are you going to do when the next bubble of students comes up? Do you think that the people who are fighting against these budgets right now are going to say, oh, sorry, we have a 20% increase in our 9th grade students, so our rate's going to be higher? No, they're going to say, no, we don't want a budget increase, because they don't understand what's going on.
I don't want to have a debate. I'm just sticking to the hard data and bringing it to light, and that's the whole point. So I don't think people look at the budget that way. They don't look at the impact at the local level, and note that data I gave you is the impact at the local level. And that's where the rubber meets the road. I'm going to take my seat.
Thank you. Ken?
I think each of us in our towns are pretty proud of our schools and glad that they're modern, up-to-date, safe, and work well. The question is, what happens if those schools are not maintained that way? Our programs are not the best in the area. Our biggest asset begins to fall in value, the value of our homes. We've heard today that an awful lot of people move to this area because of the schools. As a realtor, I hear that all the time. Our neighboring town of Middleton, the day after it was voted by Middleton taxpayers in this district and this district to accept them as tuition students, the realtors added to their house listings going to the Governor Wentworth schools, and it increased the value of homes in Middleton. I don't think any of us want to be in a situation where we have less than good schools and people don't want to buy a house because of that.
Scott Longford from Wolfeboro again. The hard data I understand, and I also understand the frustration of someone's tax bill going I wonder if the the inflation rate, I'm sorry, what did you say? 14.8%. I wonder if that inflation takes into account such things as the higher health care, the need to place students out of district, all of the costs that we have and that are, I feel, legitimate costs. To put a 2% cap or even a 5% cap or whatever we choose in a district meeting is going to limit it. It's going to limit our ability to respond to the needs of our kids. Massachusetts tried it with Prop 2.5, California tried it with Prop 13, and so many of those towns and those places have chosen to rescind it or to amend it to the point where it's practically useless. We do have to make priorities. When we put a tax cap on it, our priorities are pitting our students against our taxpayers. And while I believe we do need to do something about it, I don't think a tax cap is in any way appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Pittman. I'm from the metropolis of Effingham as well. I think a price cap is a wonderful idea when you're dealing with discretionary expenditures where you have the luxury to say, well, I guess I won't take that Caribbean vacation this year because I don't have the ability to absorb that 2% increase in cruise rates. But when it comes to things you need, if I said, if gas prices go up 2% to $3, I'm just not going to fill up my car, and I'm not going to go to work anymore, and everything will flow from that. So I think everything that's been said about the quality of the education system is wonderful and relevant, but this is an irresponsible tool for fiscal management, and I think it really amounts to a self-inflicted wound if you put that impediment in place. Thank you.
Can we move the issue?
Say again?
Can we move the issue?
You can, but I did indicate I had a proposed amendment, so we'll do the amendment first, and Ron, that would be perfect after that. So let me just read, I've been presented with an amendment. I won't read it because it's very simple. It basically wants to take the 2% number and make it 25. Is there a second to that? All right. So is there any discussion on moving the 2% number to 25%? Mr. Lounsbury.
Even if we try to make it, quote, reasonable, unquote, for most of us, I still think that it's an inappropriate thing to do. I find myself needing to vote against the amendment merely because it may seem, quote, more reasonable, end quote, to some people who might be persuaded to vote for the article.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Should we go from 2 to 25? And the young lady that presented it.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Evans, I'm a resident of Wolfeboro. I have 2 young boys who are all at the Governor Wentworth schools. One's at the middle school, one's at Crescent Lake, and I have really appreciated the education that they have received so far. I propose this amendment because I don't like a tax cap. It does nothing to help public schools. I moved back from Exeter, New Hampshire to raise my children in Wolfeboro because I received a great education here, and I also want them to receive a great education here. I'm looking through the audience right now, and I'm noticing all of the teachers that are here, and principals and staff members. I thought the other day about Philip DeSalle, who taught for 22 years at Kingswood, and all of the wonderful lessons. And as I was getting ready for the meeting, I looked on my Facebook feed and I saw that Mr. DeSalle passed away. I thought about how he used to deliver lessons, talking about the isms, political science, making sure we were all aware of what it was like to be a good citizen, and how important it is to be a part of a democracy. And I propose this amendment because tax caps ruins public schools. They've ruined Rochester. They've ruined Laconia. Franklin has a tax cap. People have left that town. They don't want to have to actually pay for their children to play sports and for public transportation at their schools. So I did propose it to 25%. I'm hoping you will approve my amendment the way that it is worded.
So any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes definitely have it. So Article 12 now has the 25% number in there rather than 2. Is there any further discussion on Article 12 as amended? You wanted to call the question, which would terminate debate. All those in favor of terminate debate on this article, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we're now on to new business. And I believe we have one comment from the board. Sure.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to ask Ernie Brown to come up to the podium with me. I want to take a few minutes this morning to thank Ernie Brown for his service on the school board. Ernie, as you know, is not running for re-election. After 23 years on the board, he has decided that he will not be running and he can spend more time with his family. Ernie has at one time or another been part of each of our standing committees: academic affairs, human resources, finance, building and maintenance. Having served as the chair of the Building and Maintenance Committee for many, many years, he has been a champion of the district's building projects and conservation efforts. He was a key supporter of the geothermal system at the Kingswood complex, our energy conservation management project district-wide, and is encouraging our more recent investigation into the use of solar panels to defray energy costs in Effingham and Ossipee. Each of the conservation projects that Ernie hoped come to fruition has saved the district a considerable amount of money and benefited the environment. More importantly, Ernie has been dedicated to doing what is best for the children of this district. We will miss Ernie very much. He's been a wonderful board member, giving generously of his time for the youth in our community. Best wishes for everything in the future. I will miss you. As you may know, Ernie spent countless hours and went to countless meetings during the Kingswood project. So we have a little bit of a presentation for Ernie this morning. I can't thank Ernie enough. He's been a great board member. We will miss him, and thank you for your support.
Is there any other new business to discuss at all? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been terrific. See you next year.